Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville, and the City Council sitting as the Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Victorville Redevelopment Agency, the Victorville Joint Powers Financing Authority, Victorville Water District, and the City Council performing the housing functions of the former Victorville Redevelopment Agency. At this time, we'll have public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council? All right, seeing no one, I will go ahead and have the declaration of closed session by our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor McEachran. We have two closed session items this evening, both pursuant to Government Code 54956.9. One is to pursuant to subsection A, existing litigation between the City of Victorville, First Assembly of God et al., and the case numbers listed on the agenda. The second is pursuant to subdivision C of 54956.9, and it involves anticipated litigation. To the extent there's reportable action, we will report it either at the close of the closed session or immediately prior to the 7 o'clock meeting.
All right, we'll now move into closed session.
Item 9.
Okay, so I'll just let Ryan know that, yeah.
Good evening. I'd like to call back to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville. The City Council sitting as the Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Victorville Redevelopment Agency, the Victorville Joint Powers Financing Authority, the Victorville Water District, and City Council performing the housing functions of the former Victorville Redevelopment Agency. At this time, we'll have any announcements out of closed session.
Thank you, Mayor McEachran. There were 2 closed session items that were fully agendized. There is no reportable action at this time with respect to either item.
All right, we'll now move into our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Our invocation will be led by Pastor Robert Larrabee, and our Pledge of Allegiance by our Lieutenant Leland Bolt.
Good evening. Let us pray. Merciful and gracious Lord, with humble hearts we seek you. We invite you here now to search our hearts and minds, to show us those things we need to change. We thank you that every day is a new day to start over and do the right thing. We ask that you would do a work tonight that would blow our minds. That, excuse me, that you would give these honorable men and this honorable lady of our council wisdom and revelation to know you better, for them to be filled with the knowledge of your will. Help us come together, council and constituency, for a better Victorville. Help the constituency support our council, whether in agreement or not. Bring us peace, bring us unity. In faith, we pray and believe your plans are better than ours, your thoughts deeper than ours. May the council's decisions be yours. Bless each member and their family. Bless our country, our state, our county, and God bless Victorville. Amen.
All right, at this time, I'll have our city clerk present the agenda to the council.
The City Council of the City of Victorville welcomes the public's participation in tonight's meeting. It is requested that all present please silence cell phones, pagers, and other electronic devices, and that personal conversations be kept to a minimum during the conduct of the meeting. Persons who wish to address the council on a specific item which appears on the agenda are requested to complete one of the white speaker cards that have been placed on the agenda table in the council chambers lobby and give it to the city clerk for the record prior to consideration of the item. The mayor will call upon each individual who has submitted a speaker card when the item comes up for discussion by the city council. The public comment period is the time and place for the general public to address the city council on any item within their jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. It is requested that a speaker card also be submitted to the city clerk for anyone who wishes to address the city council during the public comment period. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, state law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes per speaker or less, as deemed necessary by the mayor, depending upon the number of individuals desiring to speak. All communications are to be addressed directly to the city council. Individual comments to staff or members of the audience are not permitted. Individuals who fail to adhere to these guidelines may be asked to yield the floor. Any individual or group who engages in disruptive conduct during the meeting will be removed from the chambers by order of the mayor. Disruptive conduct includes, but is not limited to, addressing the council without being recognized, not addressing the subject before the council, repetitiously addressing the same subject, failing to relinquish the podium when requested to do so, verbal outbursts or comments from the audience. Thank you for your cooperation and adherence to these rules. All documents to be considered for approval at this meeting are before the council. There are several revisions that have been submitted for tonight's agenda. The first revision is on public hearing item number 8. The resolution has been slightly revised, and that new resolution is on the dais. Public hearing item 9. There's additional information that was received after 6 p.m. tonight from Briggs Law Corporation on this item. And I've also been informed that the applicant does wish to continue the hearing on this item. Public hearing item number 10. There are 2 additional comments in opposition to the project that were received today, as well as an email from Rick Raleigh. And in addition, there was additional information submitted at 4:30 today from Briggs Law Corporation, which has also been provided to the council.
Excuse me, Carolee, did you say that item 9 is being continued?
There's a request by the applicant to continue. Also on item number 10, there is a letter that has been submitted by Scott Eckert this evening, and that has been being provided to the council. I was just handed several letters also in relation to item number 10 for the record, and a presentation by Kevin Murphy, also on item number 10 that I've just received. On written communications, item number 12. This item should have also been listed for consideration on the Victorville Water District agenda. So it is being requested by the City Attorney's Office that item number 12 on the City Council agenda be also considered as a companion item on the Victorville Water District agenda. Those are all the revisions I have, Mayor McEachron.
All right, we'll now move into public comment, and I do have a few cards under public comment. The majority of them are under agenda items further on in our agenda. First one is Frank Atkins.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Atkins. I reside in the city of Victorville, and I am a candidate on the ballot for Victorville City Council. I'd like to share with you what I posted today on my Facebook page. It's Frank Atkins for Victorville City Council. In my opinion, this is going to be a very long meeting and or rushed through over the facts, and then no matter what the will of the majority of the people is on each issue, they'll vote how they want. I plan to attend meeting and be there as a voice for the people, period. That having been said, tonight will be another example of some of what's been going on and going wrong with our city. Watch the votes and see if the will of the people is done on all the issues. Thank you.
Juan Linares.
Didn't think it was that close. Okay, my name is Juan Linares, and I've been resident of Victorville since 1986. I would like to make a general comment about the City Council. It appears to me that the City Council is trying to maintain the good old boy status of previous years by spending money, making decisions based on closed sessions meetings, and what is said rather than facts. I don't really believe that you consider the public comments, especially against a project that you want to approve. I have been to several meetings and I have never seen any of you doubt down anything. You ask no questions. You criticize when someone asks questions, and you get defensive when you are asked a pertinent question. I did what Mr. Kennedy suggested and listened to the audio of the closed meeting. I found that it was the council members that lied. Mrs. Valles did not agree to the proposal. She asked for more information before she committed to a yes or a no, and this is concerning them all. Then she is chastised for asking questions and told she was a liar, that she had agreed to the proposal and basically should stand by it. This comment from none other than Mr. Cabriales, who was not even there. I did not see such a display when a council member not only reneged on a vote to fund additional sheriffs and then requested special meetings, and it was approved. Wow. If that is not good old boy at work, I don't know what is. The reason cited by the council member for reneging was, I didn't know it was going to cost $5 million. Well, shouldn't that have been your first question? Or do you pay $100 for a pair of $12 jeans, then go back and claim you were duped? This council does not spend our tax dollars. It misspends from the golf course that is still losing money, the water treatment plant, the additional money to Bob Barker because the attorney failed to do due diligence, and all of the other litigations that, from I gather, is totally due to a lack of foresight in rushing to get things approved. You ask for reports and data, but you don't ask questions to validate the information. So far, this council has not shown me that they are capable of looking past their noses. At the meetings I have attended, there have been proposals like getting rid of the golf course, but there's no action. The council feels that comments on Facebook should not be said. Why? Is that the good old boy code? Don't say anything about me unless it's good. 2 members are on the Facebook, and if there's something that you don't agree on Facebook, all you have to do is add a comment. It's very simple. A side issue from the audio is that the council member admitted not ever shopping at the mall. So what does he know of crime or bad behavior at the mall? And on another one said that he was not a businessman. So what does he know about being fiscally responsible? The other are math teachers, and I have no clue how they determine and come up with mathematical and financial things because none of it makes any sense to me. So I guess that explains most things is how the council actually operates, which is you don't.
Randall Massaro.
Hello, Mayor McEachern and esteemed City Council. You already know me. You've seen me up at this podium before. I'm Randall Massaro. I'm the United States representative for union members for the preservation of wildlife. I know there's 2 hot issues. Number 1, I'm inviting the whole Victorville City Council and anybody that wants to go to the Native American Film Festival in Las Vegas, November 1st to the 4th. We're bringing in actors like Johnny Depp and various actors and celebrities from Hollywood. Also, the fact that something else that's on the city's agenda here is a question of Walmart. And my allies, Mercy for Animals and Bob Barker, I was on the phone with them that morning when he went on and explained about Walmart dealing with Christensen Farms. I'm not against Walmart. What I am against is, since I represent unions, we want to live a better life like everybody else too. We want to have a pension like all of you, and the simple fact is when you live on minimum wage, it makes it tough. What I'm asking also Walmart to do is when you deal with people that have bad character, like Christensen Farms, where they keep the hogs and the pigs in one little pen for their whole life. They can't move forward, backward, or to the side. And I know it has nothing to do, per se, with Walmart, but it's who they deal with and their character. If you associate with bad people, it makes you look bad. And I have a DVD or video to show, but obviously I couldn't get in here in time, but it's from Mercy for Animals, and it could show you exactly what those hogs and pigs go through. And that's Walmart dealing with Christensen Farms. On behalf of Union Members for Preservation of Wildlife, again, I'd love to see unions in Walmart, but of course it's not going to happen, not in my lifetime or your lifetime, I'm sure. But again, for Walmart being where they're at and they're moving and they're having another store, I'm not against them. But why not utilize the building that they're at right there and not do a zone change or anything like that? And again, remember, it's an election year, folks. And if you're running for office, take a look at the people behind me. Okay? We are still, we the people, of the people, by the people, for the people. This is still a democracy. And again, you work for us. So please keep that in mind as it's an election year. So when you do go ahead and decide to do a zone change, keep in mind that let's utilize a lot of buildings, empty buildings that we have available still. I'm not completely against Walmart, but they provide a lot of jobs, but also let's look at their ethics, what they're behind, what they represent, what they do. Okay, so again, I'd like to say thank you. And again, just keep in mind the fact that the people are going to be voting for you at this election year. So please keep that in mind. I know you're looking for taxes to go into the city coffers. Utilize all the empty buildings that we have. Expand where we're already at. Utilize what we have. Keep them there. Okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Joseph Facote? Joseph Facote?
Hi, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time doing this, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come. I have a lot of property in Victorville, and over the past year, I had a problem with a water main leaking in my right-of-way in the back across about 450 feet of property. I called the water department, it's leaking, and it's a low priority. It leaked for months. There's 5 water leaks in the past year from around the same pipe or length of pipe. I notified them, and I also asked them to clean up the mess, and because they watered all my Russian thistle there, quite a big mess back there, and I'm not even sure if that soil's still stable. So I sent a letter to the water department, and I got a threatening letter back because my name is Joe Fichetti. The property's name isn't Joe White, okay? And I got threatened that they're going to shut off my water, put liens on the property, like the death threat. I pay my bill. I am also Joe White. I think you know that. Now, to top it all off, my last couple bills have been really erroneous. And I can show them to you later. You can call me. And it seems like you're doing some creative math with your graphs here. And I'm looking at the correspondence now. I'm a college graduate. This is 3rd grade bars. Looks like you're adding in some extra bills that shouldn't be there. And you're changing bills that were previously there. So your math is not correct. I brought this to the attention of Donna Martin in your water department. She said, oh, I see, you got a legitimate complaint. There is a problem. So then I get a call by a Kathy telling me, oh, these graphs don't mean nothing. Oh, they're just nothing. Just pay your water bill. That's what counts. I'm a mathematician. The graphs do mean something, okay? You stole from me. Not good. I asked, again, came into Donna and also talked to Steve Borrowman for an explanation. And I asked if they could explain this in writing, the discrepancy. And it's like Steve Borrowman had the snickers, like, real smart. No, we're not doing nothing. So now I'm here before you, and I'm going to bite into you like a bulldog. Excuse me? And I want to correct it, and don't you ever dare threaten to shut my water off or put any kind of fines on my property for a leak in your water main. And there was no leak in my pipes. The water guy came out and checked it, and when I noticed it was leaking and reported it, make sure it was nothing from me. It is your water main, and how dare you treat me like this? How dare you? And you have my number on the back of the card. If you'd like to go over this, I'll be more than happy to settle it with you.
Okay, thank you. We will have our city manager get in
Yeah,
contact.
and I encourage everybody to look at their water bill in detail, because there's something going on here that's not correct.
Again, we will have our city manager contact you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Irene Beltran?
Hello, my name is Irene Beltran. I am president for Warriors for Life and regional coordinator for the Silent No More Awareness Program for Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County, San Bernardino, Santa Barbara County, and surrounding counties. As I stated before, I had an abortion procedure done. It was a 2-day procedure because I was 6 months pregnant. After the first day, I was distraught and changed my mind. I went to a nearby labor and delivery facility trying to stop what I had done. I was unsuccessful, and now I have to see my daughter at a cemetery. On Sunday, my family, my 6 teenage daughters, and my 5-year-old son had to visit my daughter at a cemetery. My 5-year-old son was crying and saying, "Mom, why can't I see my sisters? I see all my other sisters. Why can't I see my sister? What happened to her?" And I just said, "Well, she's in heaven." He said, "Well, why can't I see her?" Of course, I wasn't sure what to say, but I just said, "She's in heaven. We will see her soon." My family has lived with the pain that the abortion facility has caused. They are very extremely deceiving. It is your job, Kennedy, Rothschild, Gabrielis, to protect the citizens of Victorville. You have not done so by your vote. It is your job to protect us. You have not done so. I am a government inspector, and I have to inspect hundreds of facilities in this city. I have to pass by that Planned Parenthood numerous times a day, and that is not fair to me, because that facility should not be up here. That should not be allowed. You should not support them. And I will know, I've been quiet these past couple weeks because I've been getting a game plan together, and I have many, many supporters. I have all contributors of your campaign who supports your campaign. We will get them. We will let them know what your vote is, and we will picket them as well if we must. Please consider and do what you can to support us. Thank you.
All right, that is all the cards I have under public comment. We do have cards under
Mr.
other
Mayor,
agenda
if I
items.
could make a comment for a minute. Had nothing to do, I'm not going to comment on anybody that came up to the microphone, but it's always beneficial when you see a large number of you here in an evening to remind you of something, that public comments are the opportunity for you to speak on any subject, any time. But by law, we cannot respond up at this council on those. Some of them are very detailed, some are very emotional, but the point is that we cannot respond to anything done in the public comment section. It must be agendized, it must be communicated in a more official manner, letter or phone calls or whatever. But that's why we stand up here and we don't say anything. And sometimes you may say, "Why don't you say something or anything?" And we can't, not this council or not any other council. So I just want to share that with you again. It's the 3 minutes or so that you have up there, but it's not our opportunity to respond back at you. And when some of you may have some very detailed stories to tell, the fellow with the water tip, I have no idea what part of his story or all of it or none of it that's true, but that's not for us to decide up here at this evening. So I just want to share that with you.
All right, we'll now move on to the rest of our agenda, the Library Board of Trustees. We have the consent calendar.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Cabrielis, second by Councilmember Kennedy.
I don't, looking for my, oh, here it is, okay.
Motion carries unanimously.
Under the Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, there were no items at time of posting. Under the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, agenda item number 7, this is a request to approve and direct staff to file the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority's response to the 2011-2012 grand jury final report with the presiding judge. And I would assume that we could take this in conjunction with the City Council agenda item.
That's what we would recommend, Mr. Mayor.
All right, then let's do that.
I have a question. Is this report from the grand jury, is this supposed to be coming from the council?
The response to the grand jury report is supposed to come from the council and the Airport Authority Board of Directors.
Yeah, originally the report that was prepared by Harvey Rose and Associates actually named the city manager as the responding agency. That's not what the law says. The law actually says it's the governing body. And so we clarified that with the legal advisor, who's a deputy district attorney. And he clarified that, in fact, it is the governing body who has to issue the response.
So has any of the other council members been asked for input on this grand jury response?
I don't know, but I've got my copy here. I've been marking it up. I've been through it at least 3 times. There's 25 pages. It's difficult reading sometimes, and a little bit challenging for somebody that's not used to all of the terminology in here. But it speaks to most of the important issues in the report. I'm comfortable with this report submitting from the council. So for my part, I'm ready to vote yes to submit it.
I've read the grand jury report. I've read the response that we're going to send, drafted by the city manager and the city attorney, but I've read it. There's a difficulty here that's worth mentioning. Harvey Rose claims they conducted this audit in accordance with government auditing standards. Problem with that is that Chapter 7 I do a lot of work under government auditing standards. Chapter 7 of that document spells out some very specific requirements of what should be included in the report. And among those, there's the content and the structure, but is a requirement that the report include findings, and that in the discussion of the findings it explain what the condition is, what the criteria was for evaluating the finding, what the cause, the effect, and so on. There are about 5 or 6 different elements of how that finding should be written, and then the recommendation, and then the city would respond to that recommendation. Problem with this report, all 104 pages of it, was there were no findings. There was simply nothing in that report that said, here's our findings and here's the basis of our findings. It was simply this has been my criticism of it. It's a recounting of what's been published in the daily press for the last 7 years and what's been extracted from our annual audit reports. So the city manager, in drafting his response, had a lot of difficulty determining exactly what the finding was that he needed to respond to. And about the best he could do with that was to read the recommendation and glean from the recommendation what the finding must have been. So that made this whole response process difficult. I've read it carefully. I'm thoroughly familiar with it, and I think the responses are appropriate. They agree where we should agree. They disagree where we should not agree. They disagree partially when that was the situation. I think it's very well drafted and very well on point. And I would encourage everybody in this room who cares about city government to read not only the grand jury report, but to read this response. You're going to get a lot of good, useful information about the history of what's occurred over the last 6, 7, 8 years. So I'm ready to support it.
I also read the report, and I support the response.
I wasn't finished with my comments. If I'm going to be held responsible for what's written in this report, I would have thought that the council would have had a workshop so that we could have worked through it. The material to be, given to us to investigate. I felt that the report lacked accountability and it had finger pointing. The refusal to pay back the interfund loans was disturbing when it says it's not reasonable, but they are constantly giving staff raises, absorbing the RDA staff when there's no RDA money. I think that this report, it does not accurately reflect, or I feel that the council's been intimately involved in finding out. I mean, Keith Metzler and Doug Robertson have been here for about 9 years. Is that right?
10 years for myself, Keith, a little bit longer than that.
So, I mean, isn't that like asking the fox to give a report on the hen house? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So I think that the council should have been the one to delve into it in depth and write the responses if we're going to be held accountable. So I don't support this response.
Just to clarify, the issue of interfund loans, actually quite the opposite is in the response, that we do intend to pay them back, and in fact we are well aware that legally we are required to pay them back.
So when are we doing that?
Once the funds are available to do it. But the report actually mistakenly assumed that we would never pay them back. That's what's called out in the response.
Okay, so why do we keep giving raises and spending the money unnecessarily on other areas instead of paying back what we owe?
The interfund borrowing that exists is not of the general fund. It's actually mostly from VMUS, and VMUS is a very small portion of the staffing of the city of Victorville.
All right, well, from my perspective, if you all will remember, I am the one who requested a forensic audit from the grand jury. I didn't get it. I had a grand jury that was in a stalemate, in essence. that couldn't produce a report for whatever reason. And so when I called them on it, because they spent some $200,000 of your taxpayer money to virtually produce nothing, they decided that they needed to do something to make themselves look okay. What they came out with is everything that you've ever seen in the daily press. There's nothing new. And in fact, over the last 3.5 years, city management and this council have been working to address those issues, correct those issues, and fix those issues. I mean, it's been a lot to deal with and a lot to clean up, but I think the city manager and the assistant city manager, as well as our city attorney, have crafted a well-written response. Where we need to address certain issues, we've indicated that we are going to do just that, but we disagree with them on certain other issues. And in fact, what I asked them to find, if you will recall, back in 2009, was criminal activity. People walking out of City Hall with loads of cash, and that has never been proven, not even by your own grand jury here in the county of San Bernardino. So they just rehashed everything that's been in the daily press for the last 3.5 years or more, and I think the staff response and what the council will approve here tonight is appropriate, and we will work to address those issues where we need to.
Is there still ongoing investigations, Andre?
Not by the grand jury. I'm not aware of any.
How about the SEC?
The SEC continues to have a non-public investigation. It's been going on now for about 3 or 4 years, or 3 years, I think, 2 or 3 years.
And the grand jury that did this report, are they a civil grand jury or a criminal grand jury?
They're a civil grand jury.
So would it be, could it possibly be that if they did find any criminal doing, that they would have to turn it over to the FBI or the feds?
They would typically turn it over to a criminal grand jury, and I think they have an obligation to do so if they found criminal wrongdoing, and we're not aware that that has occurred.
Thank you.
Motion by Councilmember Kennedy, second by Mayor Pro Tem Cabrales. Motion carries with Councilmember Valles voting no.
All right, for the successor agency to the redevelopment agency, the Joint Powers Financing Authority, there were no items at time of posting. Under the Victorville Water District, we do have an item which would be companion to agenda item number 12 on the City Council agenda. This item is a request to award purchase of spare circuit breaker for industrial wastewater treatment plant to Walters Wholesale, Victorville, in the amount of $32,285.91.
Could I have some explanation for this expense?
Sure, this is a circuit breaker that would be a spare. In the event we had a failure of that part, it could take 2 to 3 weeks in order for a replacement to become available, and in that case we would be unable to treat the sewage. So this would be essentially an on-the-shelf item, so that if there was a failure, we'd have one immediately available to get the plant back online, or in the event we needed to do some annual preventative maintenance, it could be utilized to be able to do that maintenance.
Okay, and then another question. You have a private company running the wastewater plant, correct?
Correct.
And so in that contract, it doesn't call for that they handle the maintenance part of it?
They handle the maintenance. We're responsible for the costs still. This is...
So like the materials?
Right.
And
right.
the labor?
Correct.
Motion by Councilmember Kennedy, second by Councilmember Rothschild. Motion carries unanimously.
City Council performing housing functions of the former RDA. There were no items at time of posting. On to the City Council. We have a continued public hearing. Agenda item number 8, a public hearing called to hear arguments for and against the acquisitions of portions of certain real property as set forth in resolution number 12-047. I'll open the public hearing on agenda item number 8. Anyone wishing to address the council on that item? All right, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and return to the council for decision.
And Mayor McEachran, if the record would reflect, there was the revision. I just want to make sure for the record that that's clearly in there. It affects the 11th recital and has a termination date for the temporary construction easement.
Motion by Councilmember Rothschild, second by Councilmember Kennedy. Motion carries with Councilmember Vyas voting no.
All right, for public hearings 9 and 10, I will be stepping off the dais. Again, I have done this in the past. This is no news. It should not be any news. I have done, and my firm have done business with St. Mary Medical Center within the last 12 months, and I continue to serve as the insurance broker for Spring Valley Lake Association. And for that reason, I have an economic interest in this decision and cannot hear the item. So I will be stepping down, handing it over to our Mayor Pro Tem, Rudy Cabriolas.
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, stepping onto the dais, should the council have any questions, is Mike Sarzinski, Senior Planner, and Brian Gengler, City Engineer.
Are we continuing item number 9?
No, there's a request to continue item number 9.
There is a request by the applicant to continue, but the public hearing still needs to be opened and testimony taken.
Okay, item number 9 is a public hearing called to hear arguments for and against the rehearing and readoption of Plan Unit Development Tentative Parcel Map and Mitigated Negative Declaration, case number PLN 11-00010, and a development agreement, case number PLN 12-00007, as set forth in ordinance number 2290, resolution number 12-020, and ordinance number 2292, St. Mary Medical Center. I will now declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak for or against item number 9, please come to the podium. I do have 2 cards. The first is Corey Briggs.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. On behalf of Creed 21, we'd ask that you not close the public hearing, even though you've been asked to continue it, because we're in negotiations with the developer, and if information comes in after you close this public hearing, it's actually prejudicial to everybody. So I'd ask, if you are going to continue it today, to leave the public hearing open, so that if we can't work things out, we can have a meaningful public hearing next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Frank Atkins.
Hello again, Council. Hello. This appears to be a good thing, actually. It looks like we might get a trauma center. I don't know all the facts, and I've been trying to gather them. So I actually think it's good that this is postponed, so we have more time as citizens to look this over, and it may be a good thing. I don't know for sure yet, but I'm actually thankful we have more time to study this, because we've got a full agenda tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against item number 9, please come to the podium. Hearing none, then we'll continue item number 9 to...
I don't know if there's a specific date or if it's just the next meeting that the applicant wishes to continue the hearing to. September 18th?
I'd like to ask the city attorney if he could explain the issue that was just raised about not closing the public hearing?
Well, typically, when you open a public hearing, you have an option of closing it. At that point, it would not be a continuance. If you're going to continue the public hearing, you have to leave it open so that the opportunity to continue to provide evidence is available to the public. Here, the proposal is to open the public hearing, which you've done, take testimony tonight, continue it to a date certain at some point, either the next meeting, and at that point, the public would also be able to continue to provide comments.
I don't understand. Who is requesting that we continue it?
My understanding is representatives of St. Mary's.
The applicant, which is St. Mary's the hospital.
Okay.
Okay, then the item is continued. Item number 10.
Do they have to tell us why they need it continued?
They do not have to explain a reason. They can just ask for a continuance. And Mayor Pro Tem Cabrealis, do we have a date certain? Are we going to continue it to the next meeting?
September 18th.
Yeah, item number 10. Before I open up item number 10, I would just like to say a few things regarding the meeting. The city clerk stated the process that we have here in the city council. I would ask the audience, this is a very emotional issue for many of us, I understand, but we all have to respect the people that come and speak at the podium, so whether we agree or disagree with them, let's demonstrate some decorum and let's show respect for their beliefs, whether we agree or not. So with that, I do have over 60, probably around 60 cards here. If we allow 3 minutes each, that would take us here for a long time. So I know that the Spring Valley Lake have a spokesman. What I would like to do is give that spokesman perhaps 10 minutes, and then everyone else, not the 3 minutes that we normally give, but break it down to maybe 2 minutes each. And if somebody is saying the same thing that is in your thoughts before you come up, and we don't want to hear the repetition, if you would just say pass, and that would be okay with us too. It's going to be a long night, so with that, item number 10 is a public hearing called to hear arguments for and against the approval of PLN 08-00053 and 54 pertaining to Tamarisk Marketplace, Walmart, and the adoption of the following resolutions and ordinances that are listed. With that, I will open up the public hearing, and I know we will start with the staff report.
Yeah, we have a very brief staff report by Mr. Sosinski.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Actually, tonight the applicant requested continuance on this item due to the documents recently received by Mr. Corey Briggs in order for the applicant to appropriately respond to those documents.
Okay. Are we going to have a short response from the applicant?
No.
Okay, we're not. Okay, then I'll just start with the public hearing. Is there a spokesman for Spring Valley Lake?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. My name is Jeff Morgan. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association of Spring Valley Lake Association. I'm certainly not going to take 10 minutes on this issue because the issue that I'm going to deal with tonight, speak specifically on, is the flood control issue. As you are aware, if this project is approved in its present state, that it can have a detrimental effect not only on the lake itself, but on the golf course and possibly the college and individual homeowners within Spring Valley Lake. We are requesting that you not approve this project tonight. We're requesting that you wait until the County Flood Control Zone 4 completes their study into this issue and adequately addresses the flood stormwater that we're faced with. I was involved personally in the rescue efforts when we did have the flood a few years ago in Spring Valley Lake. I know the damage that was caused by the runoff. This is a regional issue. Hesperia, the city of Victorville, the county need to address. And if this project is approved in its present state, if the zone change takes place and damage does occur to association property, individual homeowners, and the golf course, then certainly the city itself has culpability in those damage. And we're asking you not to approve this project. Thank you very much.
May I speak? Thank you. My name is Scott Eckert, and I'm not representing a group, and I didn't know anything about being allocated 10 minutes to speak. I wish I had known that. I would have prepared a 10-minute presentation to summarize. So I'm going to speak 3 minutes as an individual, and I'll make my case. Good evening. As I said, my name is Scott Eckert. As you know, the Planning Commission has narrowly recommended on a 2-to-1 vote that you approve the controversial project. Well, here is 3,000 signatures from people all over the high desert who disagree with that recommendation. However, one thing we can agree on comes from your own staff and the developer of this project. Quote, the EIR identifies certain significant impacts to traffic, air quality, and noise that cannot be mitigated to less than significant levels. We agree with that statement. So tonight you're being asked to ignore these and other impacts to your community, as well as the huge public opposition to this project. You are being asked by the developer to find that the jobs and taxes transferred from this project from other stores that may close are more important than the unmitigated impacts of this project. I hope we can all agree that the safety of residents and school children is far more important than the profits of any developer. TMP has been a controversial project since it was first announced in 2006, 6 years ago, not because people are against Walmart, but because the location is simply not appropriate. When Walmart purchased this land, they knew that 50% of the project was not zoned for 24/7 commercial use. A previous attempt to change this land use and zoning did not survive the city general plan update in 2008 and should not be approved tonight. In a letter dated November 2006, the TMP developer sent a letter to Mr. Bill Webb, who's still on staff, saying that they will, quote, take no additional action on our application while a list of critical community outreach efforts are undertaken. Well, it's been 6 years and we're still waiting. If you approve this project tonight, you are forever impacting the project area around an educational complex that includes 4 schools with over 10,000 students, 3 daycare centers, 2 senior centers, and a major church, all of which are within 800 feet of the project site. Do any of you have any kids or grandkids that will commute to Victor Valley College or attend any of these other schools next to the project? Have you actually visited the site and seen for yourself that it is not suited for a project of this type? In 2004, a condo development next to the TMP site was denied because of the concerns over traffic and drainage. Now a developer comes along with a project that adds 10,000 vehicles per day and causes, quote, traffic impacts that will be significant and unavoidable. And Walmart and the developer just want you to ignore it? You have used good judgment to bring 2 other Walmart stores to Victorville at locations that make good sense. Why would you now approve a project that is certain to bring prolonged litigation against this city at a time when you should be focusing your efforts on fixing Victorville's finances and problems, not creating new ones? A no vote tonight will be one that we can all look back on and say that you got it right. And just a reminder, 2 recent media polls that were conducted both show a majority of people oppose the Tamarisk Marketplace as proposed. Finally, Sam Walton himself said, if a community does not want us there, we will go somewhere else. Unfortunately, Sam is not here today, but you are, and I ask that you do what Sam would have done. Tell this developer to move the TMP project to an alternate site where it is permitted, where it is appropriate, and most importantly, where it is wanted by the community. Thank you very much.
Mary Gray. Mary Gray. Mayor Pro Tem Cabrialis, for a point of clarification, given that the applicant has requested a continuance, assuming you're going to grant it, there won't be a vote tonight, I would assume, assuming that's the deal, but it would be appropriate to take all of the testimony tonight. The public will get a second opportunity if it's a continued open hearing to do that. But there will not be an action tonight. It does not sound like, again, whether or not you're going to continue it.
Why will there not be an action?
If you grant the request to continue it, my understanding is the applicant is asking for a continuance, Mike?
That's correct.
Well, if we gave it to St. Mary's, why wouldn't we give it to Walmart? Do we vote on it?
No,
Or?
they were asking for a continuance.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
So are we agreeing to it? Is that what
Right,
you're asking?
that's the question. I mean, just for the benefit of the public, there is a request for a continuance. I don't know what the council wants to do on it.
I
If
agree
you-
to continue it.
If you agree to a continuance, you still continue this hearing, take all the testimony, but there will be a second chance to provide additional testimony, and you won't take an action tonight if you continue it.
And the reason the attorney is stating that is because if we continue it, then we'll be back for a second chance. Mary?
Good evening, Mayor, and I want to thank you and the city
Mary?
council members.
Can you speak up into the
I have to move closer. Good evening, and thank you, Mayor, city council members, and concerned citizens. My name is Mary Gray, and I'm a concerned citizen here in Victorville. My concerns that I'm expressing tonight are first and foremost for the citizens and their families, their children, and the future grandchildren, and the small business owners living in this community. I would like to express that I strongly disagree and oppose to the Super Walmart Tamarack project. To change the zoning from residential to commercial would have a very impact on our community. There's an overwhelming 71% of the people living and working in the Victorville and Spring Valley Lake area that oppose this project. This is where we live and our children go to school. We do not want a super Walmart in our front yards and in our backyards and in the parking lots of our schools. I personally have two reasons. I own property off of Ridgecrest that I built in 2006, and it looks to the backside of Big Bear Lake. I used my retirement money from retiring at Bank of America to build my dream home, which is 50% underwater now, upside down. My husband and I have given $30,000 in property taxes since 2006 that have gone, some of those funds have been placed into the reserve fund at the city of Victorville, where the $15 million was absorbed into the sanitation district a year ago. I believe that the citizens need that property tax money placed back into the reserve fund. When you were campaigning and climbing the ladder of success, you asked us to support you, to vote for you, to trust you in doing your due diligence in protecting our funds and performing your fiduciary duties in managing and budgeting all of the funds that were deposited and given to the city of Victorville. Now that you are coming down the ladder of success, you need to remember those supporters who placed their trust in you that you would do the right thing. We are asking you, please do not vote on this zoning change on the TMP tonight. It needs to be continued to a later date so that all of the monetary issues can be resolved in the city of Victorville. You, as the candidates at the city council, visited all the small businesses, their owners, their employees, along with the people and families of this community, to express to them that they could trust you and they voted for you. There are so many businesses. There are more than just the schools and the church that was mentioned earlier. There is 30 to 40 small businesses that we've forgotten about. There's the farmer's market that's over there by the college.
Mary, your time's up.
Okay. Just in my closing, could I just close? Okay. In my closing, thank you, Mayor, and the city council members. I ask you, why do we need 3 super Walmarts in Hesperia? I know the mayor and the citizens would love to have one in Hesperia. We don't need them. If they could move it to the alternative place, which was discussed earlier, which is down by Food for Less, that would really make it a fair trade, which is more opportunity for people in the high desert, because you have 2 markets next to each other, and all the small businesses would be okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person is just initial R, and I believe it's Harbinson or Harkson.
Good evening, council members and city attorney and fellow citizens. I'm speaking in favor of Walmart for jobs and growth in city and the taxes. Victorville needs the city taxes. Now, I would just like to rebut one of the speakers over here was talking about the traffic. When they put Best Buy, Pet Mart, all them other stores over there, and the illegal red cameras on Bear Valley, there was nothing said about the traffic over there. Spring Valley was happy, happy, happy. Now, they're in favor of Walmart because they most likely do their shopping there, but they don't want it in my yard. But I sincerely hope the council members weigh this possibility for the people of Victorville and not just Spring Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Murphy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, women. I'm Kevin Murphy. I've been in Victor Valley for about 35 years now. Tonight you're going to hear a lot of good reasons not to change the zoning for the Tamarisk Marketplace. I want to focus on your schools, Endeavor Elementary School and Lakeview Middle School. I had a nice PowerPoint put together for this, but for some reason I wasn't allowed. Anyway, so I'll bomb through this as quick as I can. The Victorville Schools by Tamarisk Marketplace, Endeavor Elementary School, Lakeview Middle School. Here's the first picture that I have here is Endeavor Elementary School. I took this standing by Tamarisk Road. You can see the cars. I'd like to show it to everybody, but if you can see the cars lining up on Tamarisk and lining up to go into the entrance to Endeavor School there. The next picture I have is the entrance to Endeavor School. You'll notice the yellow poles in the street there. Those were stuck there to keep the traffic from coming in off of Ridgecrest. As it was creating a really hazardous traffic condition on Ridgecrest. This situation that you have here is marginal at best. I want to go to the third picture. These are parents using the dirt lot to park in to get their kids. There's almost as many cars parked in this dirt lot as there are lined up to go into the school. And this is private property, and this is eventually going to go away. The fourth picture I have is just down the street from Endeavor School on Tamarisk Road is Lakeview Middle School. An hour after Endeavor's dismissal is Lakeview's dismissal. And parents are lining up for parent pickup here.
You have 10 seconds.
Okay, well, let me finish by saying this. There's one more picture there. That the point of all this is you're going to hear a lot of good reasons to approve this shopping center. You've heard them all, and there are a lot of good reasons to build the shopping center. It brings jobs It's good for the economy. It's going to be a nice new store. But my point is,
I'm sorry,
why
your,
there?
your time's up.
20 more?
Your time's up, sir.
Why there? Why not build it in the alternate site is what I'm getting at. Affect all these kids in these schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Carr?
Good evening. My name is Jim Carr, and thank you very much for addressing the council, ladies and gentlemen of the council. The issue that I have is in the changing of the zone change and how it will affect Victor Valley College. I have a front page of the Daily Press back in February, and there the city council rejected twice a zone change in this area for the expansion of the probation building. And the reason given that there was 40 additional people would visit this site. And yet tonight, you may be considering the zone change that will bring 10,000 vehicles per day next to our college. You know, probably in this valley, with the exception of the airport, your most valuable asset happens to be Victor Valley College. If we do not provide education for the young people of this community and for this whole valley, how in the world can you attract good paying jobs to come here? I also noticed something else tonight. I think I saw one board of trustees from Victor Valley College here tonight. And why they all were not here, I do not know. But I'll tell you, we passed Bond J, or the J bond, to help build this college and to develop it. And they have as much responsibility to protect the taxpayers' funds as these citizens out here. But think of the college. Is this the legacy that you people want to leave this community and this valley? Again, thank you very much.
Dr. Robert Gaines. Dr. Robert Gaines. Senior.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Cabrielas and the rest of the board. I'm here talking from a practical business point of view. I represent the California Black Chamber of Commerce for the state of California, and our country is already at a crisis point, economically, job-wise. Everybody's complaining about how many jobs we've lost. Well, it's not up to our government to create jobs. It's up to the businesses and the people of the community to do that. Walmart's busy doing that. I think that this change, the request for a zone change, has to be considered on its merit about what it's going to produce, not on the emotional dissatisfaction about traffic, because traffic in the model of how it's going to be created and how this business is going to be developed will be adjusted and will be addressed. I think we need to sit back, look at the project, look at its moral standards and its business acumen and how many jobs it's going to create. And from a business point of view, the benefits to the community and to the entire valley, not just to Victorville. I think that the approval of this project is good and correct. But I think that we also need to wait for the results. If there is going to be a flood code problem, then that needs to be addressed also. But at the same time, I see that Walmart has already asked for a continuance, so I'll reserve any more comment until a later date instead of taking up time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Gutierrez. Teresa Gutierrez. Frank Estrada. You'll get an explanation right now, sir. Andre?
Mayor McEachran has indicated he has a conflict of interest with respect to this issue. He represents, his business represents Spring Valley Lake Association, and so he could be financially impacted by the decision. He has taken it upon himself to recuse himself from this item. He did. He said he set forth the reasons and put it on the agenda.
Let's continue with the hearing. Frank Estrada? Diana Hollis? Pastor Carol Hollis? Barbara Dykes? DYKES? Lucia Perez? Leanne Manor? Carol Smith?
Could I ask if you pass to let us know which side you're for or against? We'd just like to know.
Four, yeah.
The other lady?
Good evening. My name is Charles Smith. I live in Apple Valley, but I used to live in Lake Valley Ridge in Victorville, and I still own that home as rental property. Lakeview Ridge is a housing tract located off Ridgecrest Road just west of Spring Valley Lake. Some people would have us think that this fight over the Tamarisk location for Walmart is an anti-Walmart action or an elitist feeling among residents of Spring Valley Lake. Well, I like Walmart. I shop there, and I respect their business model for the success it has generated for the corporation and for the low-price, one-stop shopping alternative it provides consumers. And I lived in Lakeview Ridge, not Spring Valley Lake. However, these two communities have one thing in common. The only way to get into or out of either one of them is Bear Valley Road. Because of this, I'm painfully aware of the heavy traffic on that road, a traffic artery important not just to Victorville, but to all of the high desert communities. While most days that traffic is only a minor frustration, I remember needing about 45 minutes to go 3 miles during one of our rare snowstorms a few years ago. I could literally see my house from Hesperia Road, but had to go on Bear Valley from Industrial to Ridgecrest to get there. That's what took the 45 minutes. I've also seen the traffic snarls caused by the too frequent accidents along that section of Bear Valley Road. These traffic problems are occurring with the current traffic levels. Undoubtedly, some of that traffic is cars going to one of the existing shopping areas nearby, but most drivers avoid Bear Valley Road if at all possible. If a Super Walmart and the other stores are built in this location, all of the Tamarisk Marketplace shoppers will be not only driving through this area, but turning off of and back onto Bear Valley Road. The likely impact on the surrounding schools, retirement centers, daycare centers, residential communities that has been and will continue to be addressed by other speakers will be felt by their students and residents. But the adverse impact of the increased traffic will be felt by everyone who cannot avoid driving on that portion of Bear Valley Road. I urge you to leave the current zoning in place. Thank you.
Barbara Gibbs? Barbara Gibbs?
Thank you for having me speak. I live in Victorville. I live off of Bear Valley Road, but I live west of the freeway. And there's a lot of houses been built out in our area and all the way out past 395 for the last 15, 20 years. And they built up this area. I've been living out here since 1975. I moved into Victorville in 1975. And out off of that Bear Valley Road and all the way out to 395 and past it, there is no shopping centers at all. Everything is over on the east side. And Bear Valley is hard to travel on the east side. I live on this side. I want the Walmart out here because the Walmart's been real good to us. I work at 2 places where we give away food and clothing because so many people have lost their jobs in the past year. This will bring jobs into the area that we haven't had. It will also bring other markets over in that area. Lowe's and Kohl's are over there, and they're 2 big shopping centers, yet you didn't turn them down. But you're turning this one that goes right through the Kohl's Shopping Center parking lot and goes right through Home Depot's, Lowe's parking lot. It goes right through there. So you don't even have to go on to the Edge Road, Armagosa, to get over to the Walmart. So I think the Walmart location is a perfect location. It's right off the freeway. It'll bring businesses into this area, along that area that's had no businesses at all except a bunch of restaurants. They've all had just restaurants along that area. And if you look at that area on Armagosa, they have just areas. Am I through?
That wasn't for you, that was for the background.
Okay.
Ma'am, that's not the Walmart that we're talking about. Not Dunia Plaza Walmart. We're talking about one down by Spring Valley Lake.
Okay. Well, the Walmarts, I think we need them because I send a lot of people there. I thought it was the one over here. But I think we need a lot of people. We need Walmarts in this area because the prices at a lot of the other stores are astronomical compared to Walmart. So even the one on, if it's further down that way, I don't care. As long as you bring them up here for more jobs. We feed 40 to 50 people every week from, well, maybe 70 from the Presbyterian Church, and I work out there with the Crisis Center, and all these people are losing their jobs, and they need jobs all over this place. So I tell them to go to Walmart because they're cheaper, and also you can get jobs there, where other places you can't get jobs. They're just not hiring. And we need jobs up here. And I don't care if you have it down there or over at this one. We need jobs, and we need the Walmarts to come in here so people can afford the food and afford to have jobs up here. So I thank you for let me take your time, and I just hope that you prove both of them. I think both of them are fantastic.
Thank you. Christine Hughes. Christine Hughes.
Hello. My name is Christine Hughes, and I am a 9-year resident of the Victor Valley. I am here to support the East Victorville Walmart. My husband has been a 20-year Walmart employee, and that's the reason why we moved here. We need the jobs, but I'm also here to talk about the charitable benefits of Walmart. They are involved in so much in this community. I go to bike races where they're a sponsor. They sponsor the community cleanup days that we have 2 times a year. They have helped Relay for Life. They've helped out breast cancer, and I just wanted to let you know how much they offer the community. Thank you.
Stephen Jenkins.
Hello, I'm Steve Jenkins. This is my first time talking. I am an employee of Walmart. Whether or not traffic is what it is. The east side, that's just what it is. I am a parent. I go and I sit 45 minutes to pick up my daughter at Encore, which is right off I and Bear Valley Road. It is what it is. Also, whether or not we have the Walmarts that are right off the freeway, that'll take care of the traffic right there. If we put one over on the east side, it'll take it up and break it up there. And anyway, traffic is what it is. That's what it is. Thank you.
Leslie Hagan. Leslie Hagan.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name is Leslie Hagan. I have been a Walmart associate for over 16 years. I have lived in this high desert for most of my life. I remember 2 lanes everywhere, and that was it, and no stop signs. Walmart has been a savior to my family. My husband's been unemployed for many years, and they have kept my home. They have kept food on my table, and they've kept food on my back, or food in my stomach, because of the great company it is to work for. This city needs more companies like Walmart. Walmart takes care of its own. They take care of their community. They care. And we need a lot more businesses like Walmart. Thank you.
Carol Wolf.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I too work for Walmart. I've worked for them for 22 years. We built the Walmart that we have now that is now moving, and we're real excited about it. My family and I have been recipients of a lot of benefits that Walmart has to offer. My one son was awarded a $6,000 scholarship. He now has a master's. He's doing very well. My husband has been disabled for the last 7 years. I have been the sole provider. We are just so thankful for all that Walmart has done for us and our family. Thank you.
Guadalupe Rodriguez. Guadalupe Rodriguez. Saturnino Rodriguez. Kenneth Snyder. Snyder.
Good evening, council. I'm a lifelong California resident. Lived in the high desert since 1985. And I've been voting my entire voting life. And I know that most of you council members and council president and your entire dais have been put there by the voters. I ask you to give the people what they want. Very important. I'm also a former assistant to council in another city, a city very familiar like Victorville. It's a desert. They're both desert cities. And I'm very familiar of how decisions are made. I sat there one morning with my boss at an IHOP, and I watched him trade off a vote with another council member. I didn't approve of that, and I sure hope that practice isn't done here in Victorville. We're a streamlined community. Very well done. But it bothers me a little bit that we don't have the opportunity sometimes to get the shopping done that we want. I support the building and construction of Walmart, and every Walmart for that matter, whether it's Chinatown in Los Angeles, whether it's Fresno. I want every Walmart, and I want every Walmart official to know that I hope you make as much money as you can and enjoy it. And to let the council know, the entire dais know, that the voters put you in that chair. So if you're looking for re-election, and if you're looking for a vote for me, and I wanted to tell Mr. McEachran myself, I hope he appreciated my vote, but I see that he's not here. He's probably listening. Please, build the Walmart. And every single Walmart that that gives you the opportunity to see that 300, 500 jobs are done. You know, 22% of unemployment isn't high enough. What number aren't you going to like?
You have 15 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Deborah Harris. Deborah Harris. I guess the one then. Nathan Guillen.
First of all, I want to thank you for the time and allowing me to speak. I've lived in Victorville for about 10 years. I'm a manager at Smart and Final. There was never once no problem with traffic when the Walmart was right there across the street. I say yes to Walmart. It's going to create jobs. They're always good to all their employees. My mom, my sister, and my brother-in-law all work for Walmart. Walmart has been a really good for this city, and I say yes to Walmart.
Aisha Salgado. Paul Watkins. You support or oppose? Support. Patty Watkins.
To my mayor, who in his absence, and to the entire board that I stand before. My name is Patty Watkins. I've been a member and a citizen here in Victorville since 1999. I love everybody. I love everybody. I love my members here on the board. I support Walmart. We have one on the west side. We have one on the east side. And I'm sorry the people on the east side.
You have to speak to the board here. To the
I'm
council.
sorry what's going on with the ones who have it in the area where they're complaining, but it's nothing we can do about it. All we could do is pray, and pray that the problem go away. And if it doesn't go away, we have to live with it. This is something that God put here. He let it happen. You might laugh now, but you know, you got to give me my respect, because I respect everybody in this room who spoke. Okay? But like I said, I do support Walmart, and they're good people there. My husband, he worked for Walmart as a security officer in the parking lot, and he was a good security officer, but he had to leave because of his pension. But there was something he did to get out the house, you know, after you retire. But like I said, Christmas time is coming up. How much more can a person shop? We won't have that much traffic. I'm sure it'll be a 24/7 store. So enjoy it, be happy. We come to these meetings not to argue, although it says arguments, but I'm not here to argue. I'm here, like I said, out of love and respect. And I support you, and I will vote for you again. I want you to stay on the board, and if it was me, I would want somebody to respect me. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful evening.
Thank you. I think it's Gina McFadden.
Hi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dina McFadden. I am 17 years old. I am a senior at the Academy for Academic Excellence. I'm a student at VVC, but above all, I'm a resident and citizen of the High Desert. I remember when I first heard about the Tamarisk Marketplace project. I was on my way to school and we drove past the proposed site, and Mrs. Medeiros, who was driving nuts, said they want to put a Walmart there. And my first reaction was, well, that's dumb. I was in the 6th grade. I was 11. I didn't think putting a Walmart in Victorville was dumb. On the contrary, I knew it was a good idea. It would bring jobs and money to the city that was so desperately in need of both. I just didn't think putting a Walmart, a place that would sell ammunition and alcohol, near 5 schools, a daycare center, 2 elderly facilities, and a church was a good idea. I have lived in the high desert my entire life. I know the people here. They are strong, resilient, but most of all, they care. Look around and don't think for 1 second the majority of these people are protesting Walmart or the city of Victorville. They're here fighting for the very thing you guys are, the bright future of the city of Victorville and the high desert. These people want money, commerce, and jobs to come to the city, just like you do. These people just don't want to sacrifice our brightest hope for a successful future, our children. So build the Walmart, but build it 2 miles down the road, with a place with all the same benefits, but none of the same downsides. Do the people of the high desert a great service and do not allow this project to move forward. Please, give our future a chance. Thank you.
Gary McFadden. Gary.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Corey McFadden. I am also 17 years old, and I'm also a senior at the Lewis Center for Educational Research's Academy for Academic Excellence. As you may know, AAE students are working with Mojave Water Agency and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services to reestablish the Mojave Tui chub back into its natural habitat, the Mojave River. The Mojave Tui chub is the only fish native to the Mojave River. It is also endangered. It is therefore protected under the Endangered Species Act, an act which prohibits actions that may jeopardize the continued existence of any listed species or the destruction or adverse modification of its habitat. It has come to my attention that the construction of the Tamarisk Marketplace would likely jeopardize both the fish and its habitat. The current storm water flow would wash sediment and debris from the Tamarisk Marketplace into the Mojave River during the first flush and other storms. I fear that the zone change and subsequent Tamarisk Marketplace will pose a substantial threat to the endangered Mojave Tui chub and its habitat, a clear violation of the Endangered Species Act. Therefore, I urge you to do what is right and vote no on the zoning change. Move the Walmart. Move it to somewhere that won't put an endangered species at risk and help save a native and endangered species. Thank you.
Marvin Jobs. Marvin Jobs.
Commercial real estate development and construction for over 30 years. I was one of the project managers involved in the original construction of the Mall of Victor Valley. I'm familiar with the EIR process and the issues that they raise. I'm familiar with the EIR issues regarding traffic, flood issues, and so forth that are not being addressed under this project, and I would request that it not be approved until they are properly addressed. Thank you.
Paul Berger.
Good evening. My name is Paul Berger, and I've lived in the High Desert since 1995. I'm a land developer. I help people build projects on property that complies with the building and development codes and the general plan. Developing a project in Victorville is an interesting process. You bring your paperwork to the counter. A planner will take the paperwork from you, tell you to have a seat, then you'll go in the back room, they'll come out in a half hour, 45 minutes later and tell you what you need to do before he'll even accept it. Let's pretend that I have brought this project to the counter and said to my client wants to build a retail outlet adjacent to Victor Valley College, 3 primary schools, 3 daycare centers, a retirement and assisted living facility, and a church. And by the way, it's going to bring in 10,000 trips a day, which is going to cause excessive amounts of pollution and unmitigable traffic on one of the most congested routes in the high desert. Finally, I say that the land isn't zoned for this either. You're going to have to rezone it. I'm afraid I wouldn't have to wait a half hour to 45 minutes. The planner would immediately tell me that they do not want a project like that in Victorville, and he would be right. You do not want a project that is going to cause unmitigable environmental damage, and you do not want a project that does not comply with the general plan. Oh, I suppose if I own some residential property next to some commercial property, I might have a 50-50 chance of getting the zone. But to place a large commercial development in an area with no compatible adjacent uses would be a non-starter. This is exactly what the general plan is designed to protect. General plans like the one you have are well thought out and are designed to protect both the city and its residents. Your plan is excellent. It provides for educational facilities to be built in residential areas, protected and isolated from the impacts of commercial development. Your plan also provides for an adequate amount of general commercial land that is bundled together in place where it can best serve the entire city. To introduce a project that is far from being compatible use is the poorest kind of planning. No planner with any skills at all would suggest that this property be zoned for general commercial use. There is no adjacent commercial land next to this, and there never will be. This adds more traffic as shoppers must drive miles from one shopping area to another.
10 seconds, please.
And that is exactly what the general plan is supposed to do. If you approve this rezoning for property from office professional to general commercial, you will be sending a message to all of the residents of Victorville that a general plan means nothing. Forget this project is near
Your time's up,
Spring
sir.
Valley Lake.
Your 3 minutes are up.
I'll
Thank
be
you.
back.
Sandra Wilshire. Sandra Wilshire.
Well, I have a question first. Is
Can
it
you bring the
correct
mic
that
down,
you will
please?
not be voting on the zoning change?
Please, yes.
Is it correct that you will not be voting on the zoning change tonight?
There's a request for it to be continued, yes.
I just wonder if I should make comments regarding
You
the
can
project.
make your comments, they'll be
Okay.
on the record.
And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read because I'm not a speaker, but I have such heartfelt feelings about this that I wanted to at least put my comments on the record to you, even though I've written to you and haven't had responses from anyone except for one council member. Anyway, I've lived here for 25 years, and I live very close to the proposed Super Walmart project at Tamarisk. In my efforts to put a positive spin on this upsetting issue, I am hopeful that before you vote on this project, each of the city council members will stop and think that this proposed Tamarisk Marketplace / Spring Valley Lake Walmart is the wrong location and just a bad idea. After all, this goes against Walmart's policy to place the Walmarts at major intersections, and Tamarisk is definitely not a major intersection. Besides the proposed Tamarisk Marketplace project, Walmart has 4 other supercenters in various stages of development in the high desert already, and they identified property, as it's been discussed, at an alternative site just a couple of miles away. Anyway, I'm hoping that before each of you vote, as city council members, you'll give proper weight to the overwhelming opposition to this project that you've seen over the last several years. I know tonight isn't representative. It seems like there are plenty of people from Walmart who maybe are employed and would really like this, but it hasn't been representative over the last 4 years. And anyway, we've had all these hours of impassioned testimony at council meetings, thousands of signatures. We've had concerns raised in letters and postcards and telephone calls over the past few years, realizing it's really not just a few people, it's an overwhelming majority based on any 300 who would have a job. Also, each of you council people, before you cast your vote, will you think about the fact that any of the major problems that do result from building the Walmart here, if we have pollution that ruins our lake or golf course or whatnot, won't it fall on you personally if you give a yes vote on this? And I'm just asking you to really consider that, because we live here. You know, it's not just a job for us, it's where we live. And I feel that you all do have a responsibility to do what is right. Walmart doesn't seem to care that we have a huge traffic congestion problem here without adding a superstore to add to the problem. And at one of the council meetings last year, Walmart's response
You
to
have 10
residents'
seconds,
concerns about, pardon me?
10 seconds left. You're done.
Walmart's response to concerns about traffic congestion was, we don't need to get in the traffic congestion, we can do all of our shopping at Walmart. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll just close by saying it's the wrong location. I'm hoping that the Victorville City Council will raise my hopes and support the views of the most people who are impacted by this proposed project. And I thank you, and I ask you, do you care about my concerns? And will you protect my interests? And I sure hope you will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Roger Bean. Roger Bean.
My name is Roger Beam. I've lived in the Victor Valley since 1984. I think it's clear for many reasons that the proposed site for the Tamarisk Mall is probably the worst possible location in the Victor Valley. Many people came here tonight to demonstrate their opposition to the proposed zoning change. However, we represent only a small portion of the people in the Victor Valley who adamantly oppose the Tamarisk Mall. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been invested in developing the area around the proposed site. Thousands of people have invested most of their life savings in buying homes and starting businesses in this area. People who invested in this area trusted Victorville and its leaders. They felt confident that Victorville's zoning laws protected them from exactly the sort of project proposed by Walmart. To change the zoning laws at this point would be equivalent to stabbing these people in the back. When you vote tonight, you'll have to choose to either act in good faith and uphold your zoning laws, or to act in bad faith, disregard the zoning laws, and turn your backs on the people who elected you. I urge you to do the right thing and uphold our zoning laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Wiltshire. Mike Wiltshire. Don't note it. Juan Linares. Juan Linares. Ernie Martel. Linares. Okay.
Where it was when I got up, I don't know. Good evening. I was here earlier, and I made some comments. This one is against Walmart. I am against Walmart. I'm not going to say that I'm against Walmart as a whole. I'm against the proposed Walmart being built at the East Victorville. Anyone that feels that a Walmart built on the proposed site is a plus to the city in jobs and tax revenue obviously are not looking at the total picture of the actual impact. And that goes double for the council members that I'm certain, and I hope that I'm wrong, will probably vote yes, regardless as to how many people show up and say no. First, Walmart's contention that it will provide 300 jobs is a little misleading. Is there going to be an additional 300 jobs? Because when the new Walmart is open, the workers from the closed one will transfer to the new one. The jobs they will create are low-paying hourly jobs. The department heads, supervisors, and managers will come from other locations, not Victorville or any of this area. Second, Walmart position that it supports fire and police through the $500,000 in tax revenue is a big plus. However, who is going to foot the bill for the upkeep of the roads, which will obviously be destroyed more than they already are, with additional 80 to 90 18-wheelers per week going through Bear Valley Road? Who is going to foot the bill for the extra signals which will be needed after the Walmart is built and the city finds that the little stop sign that is placed at the entrance to Spring Valley Lake needs to be a signal, not a stop sign? Walmart? I don't think so. Does Walmart, the city council, and the people that support the new Walmart actually think and believe that there will not be a traffic jam when the school, the college students, the shoppers, the workers going to and from Apple Valley, Lucerne Valley, Big Bear, and just the daily general traffic is going to be fine and is not going to change? Better think again and get your wallets out. If you never have to travel on Bear Valley Road, council members probably don't, how you feel that the new requirement is not a big deal? So a little extra traffic and a delay in getting home after an 8-hour day, a little extra gas fumes, so what? To those who are forced to travel to and from the 8 to 15 to Apple Valley, Lucerne Valley, Spring Valley Lake, Big Bear, students to the college, moms and dads taking the kids to school, the senior home and all other locations where the only through road is Bear Valley Road, you know what I'm talking about. One last thing to consider. Why build another Walmart there? If the council and Walmart feel so strongly that the extra vehicles and extra time on the road to get home is not an issue, then why not let the people drive a few extra miles to the one next to the mall? I really think there is more to just having a Walmart there. In my opinion, someone knows or is getting something, just like the Walmart rally at the Ambassador Hotel for free pizza to support the new Walmart. Do you actually believe that someone is not going to make or will be making something by building there? Come on. If this is Walmart does in public support...
You have 10 seconds left.
How many? Okay, if the council members will actually do their job and not misspend so much money, like the money to Bob Barker for the interchange, which a high school kid could have figured out, then it will not be in a financial position it is currently. I said build a Walmart in another location, like the corner of Nisqually and Hesperia Road. Thank you.
Ernie Martell. Ernie Martell. L. Andrews. Before Al gets to the podium, I still have about 20 cards here, and if we take the full 3 minutes, we're looking at another hour. It's fine with me. I'm willing to, I'll stay here as long as it takes, but please consider that if you're going to say the same thing over again, just say your support or opposed, and I think we can get through earlier that way. Thank you.
I get the message, Mr. Cabrielas. I'm Al Andrews. I'm a retired superintendent of schools. I spent 40 years of my life being trained and practicing conflict resolution. And I think a lot of people here that are hoping that you pass the zoning change and so on are not adequately identifying the issue. The issue is not jobs. The issue is not anti-Walmart. The issue is not how much good Walmart has done. We all know how much good it has done. The issue is where. And I pray that tonight you will vote to continue your decision on this issue until you have adequately addressed the actual problems and who's against it and why. Because we are not against Walmart per se, we're not against jobs, we're not against a lot of the things that the people that are pro-zoning change are saying. It's irrelevant. So please consider that.
Manny Can, Khan.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem and city members. I think I want to begin with the young ladies who said they were 17 years old. It's not I think, a speech thing that somebody was trying to win one or another. I think what they said is so true. Walmart has so much money that they can go 3 or 4 miles by the college, and there are lands galore. They can afford bigger lots and make bigger China Mart or Walmart or whatever they want to do. I think it's the people who are going to be affected so badly if they put the Walmart at that location. It took us, myself and my friend, 17 minutes from College to Hesperia Road. Okay, just that 1.4 miles, whatever it is. Okay, I will deeply request to all of you, please use your conscience, because I do not want to see that sign change, which will read, "In money we trust." Thank you.
Jennifer Medeiros.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jennifer Medeiros. I'm a local resident and property owner in Victorville. I urge you to vote no on the rezoning of the Tamarisk Walmart. Walmart claims this project is going to bring 300 jobs to Victorville. They haven't disclosed how many of these new jobs will be filled by the employees of their current Bear Valley Road store, which will close if this project is approved. Where do the rest of these jobs come from? In the EIR before you, by Walmart's own admission, the Vaughn's grocery store 1 mile east of this project will be so substantially impacted that it will likely have to close. This puts all the Vaughn's employees out of work. When you consider the job loss that Walmart will cause, there really won't be any new jobs. In a 2006 letter from Stan Rothbart to the city of Victorville, he states that Tamarisk Walmart may generate $1 million in sales and property tax revenues each year for Victorville. But all the research on revenues generated by Walmart at existing stores show tax revenues at half of that. If you're even considering voting in favor of this project, you need to know the real number of revenues, because this project is going to cause a huge increase in the necessary road repairs and police services. Water drainage has historically been a problem at this site. The Tamarisk site has suffered such heavy flooding and drainage and damage in the past that the roads had to be closed. This isn't unusual. We've experienced flash flooding twice in the last couple of weeks. Studies have not yet been completed to show the impact that Walmart's project will have to the neighboring homes, roads, and schools. You shouldn't consider voting to approve this project until these studies are complete. An alternate site for this project was identified by Walmart. In their own records, they state they have reviewed a site on Bear Valley Road in Victorville near the Food for Less. The developer says this site is not beneficial to Walmart. If Walmart insists on pushing a 5th supercenter into our community, then they should reconsider this site. This site is already zoned 100% commercial, and it's not next door to thousands of school children. Walmart planned a pizza party tonight before the meeting to encourage their shoppers to come out and speak on their behalf. Walmart thinks the people of the high desert are so simple-minded that they can be bought with pizza. I'm here because I'm a 24-year resident, and I love this community. I've gone to school here, I've raised my children here, I've built a business here. Please don't allow the promise of a few low-paying jobs or pizza to sway your vote in favor of this project. Please vote no on the Tamarisk Walmart. Thank you.
Jacqueline Medeiros. Jacqueline Medeiros.
I'm Jacqueline Medeiros. Don't make fun of me. And I'm a local resident. Like all the other sane people in this building, I'm against Walmart. First of all, Spring Valley Lake is one of the nicest parts and lowest crime parts of Victorville. Let's keep it that way. All the people here who work for Walmart, that's great. Keep your jobs at the standing locations. But we don't need another one, and especially not in a place where a Walmart would cause so many problems, as you've already heard. Also, I've attended Lakeside Academy, and more recently, I took concurrent enrollment classes at Victor Valley College for 5 years, beginning at the age of 12. So I was 12 years old walking out to my mom's car from my class in a parking lot that's only a few hundred feet away from a Walmart that you guys want to build. As a voice for students attending any of the schools in the area of the new Walmart in question, I would like to remind you of the crime associated with Walmart. Why would we knowingly put these students in danger? If the goal of the City Council is to better Victorville, I would ask you all to please remember all these residents speaking out against the Walmart. I'm afraid to go to the standing High Desert Walmart, so please don't put another one near our schools. Thank you.
Diane Shorts. Support. Okay. Byron Shorts. Support. Don Medeiros.
Good evening. I'm a local business owner and resident of the High Desert for more than 20 years. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight and expressing our concerns that we have regarding this Walmart. Walmart has many opponents here and many supporters here, as it is, I think, in most communities. The name sometimes can be polarizing. The cities like the lure of the jobs and the idea of the revenue coming in. The small businesses are concerned with the idea that they see their demise coming, and a lot of the local communities that surround Walmart see their characters change. And that's some of the fears you see here tonight when you're hearing all the people speak. This isn't about Walmart per se. You've heard that. It's about the location. If we were just to change the name and not use Walmart and just use some other business, we call it Wally Strip Club. And we want to put it there in that same location. Now, this isn't just some average strip club. This is an upscale, large facility. It's going to hire about 300 people. It's going to be one of the top revenue producers in the High Desert, and it's going to bring that jobs into that area. Now, this council is going to have to decide what we're going to do with that. Let's take a look. There's 4 schools that surround it, within 750 feet with all those students. We have 3 daycare centers, retirements, all the things we talked about tonight. That's what we have there. May cause some concern. Alcohol being served 24/7, being sold or served there 24/7. The type of people that would be there in the middle of the night and also early in the mornings. Those are things that we have considerations on. That the idea of the traffic that would just crush what is there already, as most of you know if you've driven through there, especially in traffic hours, it's pretty difficult. This is just going to absolutely crush that area. It makes no sense in doing that. The other problem we have is that 24/7 facility is going to have a big parking lot for all the cars coming and going. All the RVers like to spend the night there. That parking lot is going to create the problem that you've heard spoken so much about tonight, and that's the water runoff and the damage that goes into the river and through the community of Spring Valley Lake. Those are big concerns that we would have regarding that. And then we have all the noise and the pollution. We have the cars late at night or trucks backing up and all the noises that's associated with that. All the pollutions from those vehicles. Again, centered in and around 24/7, that community that the city created by its own zoning laws, putting the schools and putting the churches and putting all the students and daycare centers there in that one location. That was a consideration. Nothing should change that consideration. It's not a good choice. So what we come down to is that we have an opportunity to do the right thing, as they say. And I think that when you notice that the strip club then holds a pizza party and gets everybody to come over so they can get their blue placards to come support.
10 seconds, Don.
And the city gets enchanted with the idea that it can get the jobs and the revenues. There's so many other considerations to look at in this. So when you have a painted lady and she's leaning forward and she's trying to seduce you into coming in to the side because she has power and money and the ability to do that. Remember, it's not a stripper, it's Walmart. And for all the right reasons, you need to vote no.
Thank you. Marjorie Jorgensen.
But I'm not against the Walmart concept. I'm against the location. I both live and work within the impacted zone of where this Walmart is proposed. And I can tell you, as I drive home and drive to every day, down Bear Valley from Industrial down to Spring Valley Parkway, that the traffic is horrendous. And for those of you who haven't done it, it can take you anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to half an hour to go that 1 mile of traffic. And I cannot see how placing a Walmart in that location would be beneficial to anybody. My other issue is that I have a son who attends Lakeview Middle School. Now, we love Walmart, we shop at Walmart, and we will drive to the new Walmarts to shop there. But when I explained to my son that they're looking to put one in his school's backyard, he was like, "Mom, that's bad." And that is the worst location it could possibly be. The Food for Less location is a much better location. It makes more sense. The traffic is much less impacted there than it will be, particularly in the strip, that it will be if it's continue to be where it's proposed. So I would beseech you to please do the right thing and do not choose here. I am for jobs. I am for Walmart. I'm just not for this location. Thank you.
Thank you. Douglas Fuller. C.S. Page, Jr. Frank Atkins.
Hello again, my name is Frank Atkins, and I'm on the ballot to be up there representing the people. I mean, council, is your position the will of the people? Or is it the will of the big business? I'm seeing by statistics and everything here that the will of the people is they don't want it there. Most of us all love Walmart. We shop at Walmart. But that particular location, we're discussing changing the zoning, flood possibilities. The neighbors and the people seem to not want it. I'm not understanding why it's not just a simple decision. There's all these changes going to be done to this particular thing, and the people don't want it. There's a good suggestion down the street. We've got 2 big, beautiful Walmarts coming. So I'm not against Walmart, and like people said, they don't seem to be against Walmart, just this location. And the will of the people, they don't want it. And as you're supposed to be representing the people, because if I was up there, I'd be representing the will of the people, and it appears in this case, they don't want the Walmart there. Thank you.
Corey Briggs.
Good evening, members of the council, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'd actually like to address you on this one. Recently, the city attorney wrote a letter saying that you don't have a conflict of interest under Government Code Section 1090. The city attorney, good guy, good firm, but got it wrong. That analysis focused on the meaning of the word contract under Section 1090, and the Supreme Court has said that that term is to be construed expansively for the purpose of making sure that there are 0 conflicts of interest in government decision-making. Apart from that inaccurate analysis, you're violating the Political Reform Act if your wife is receiving any money from Walmart, or within the last 12 months did receive any money from Walmart through her work at the Chamber of Commerce, the High Desert Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So I would ask you, in writing, prior to the next public hearing, to fully disclose how much money Walmart has donated, whether it's membership dues, sponsorship, any other monies, to the High Desert Hispanic Chamber of Commerce during the time that your wife was employed there, and in addition, identify what your wife's compensation structure was and whether any monies were received by her directly or indirectly during her employment there, because even if Government Code Section 1090 doesn't apply under the Political Reform Act because of the monies that your wife may have received, you are conflicted out. Not only could that expose you to prosecution, but it allows the public to submit a 120-day request to the DA to prosecute and investigate, and if they decline, it subjects you to potential civil litigation. So I would ask you, before the continued public hearing, to disclose in writing all of those issues so that the record's clear and there's absolutely no reason to think that money has tainted your decision on this project. Thank you.
Ron McFadden. Ronnie Harris. Angela Ellen. Michael Luff.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Pro Tem Cabrales. My name is Michael Luft, and I'm a teacher at Endeavor Elementary School. I'd like to address an issue that has been brought up before, but hasn't really been considered as seriously as it should be. The issue I'm referring to is that of the so-called sensitive receptors contained in the EIR. It's incredible to me that none of the planning commissioners, nor any of you, our council members, has not been outraged by such a callous and impersonal reference to the very young and the elderly. I'm in charge of 34 sensitive receptors 180 days a year. It's my job not only to educate them, but also to keep them physically safe. I'm a mandated reporter of the state, and I'm required by law to notify the proper authorities of any obvious or suspected abuse inflicted upon those sensitive receptors. You have the power to help protect those sensitive receptors from the potential harm that an increase in solid particulates might do to them. Failure to do so would, in my opinion, make you liable to be named as contributors to the endangerment of all so-called sensitive receptors. I will recommend to any parents of children whose respiratory discomfort increases should the Walmart be built that they notify CPS and any other county agency that protects children from abuse. I will further advise them of the EIR that states that there will be an increase in solid particulates and there's no known mitigation to reduce such pollutants, and that you, knowing full well of the potential for physical harm, approve the building of a Walmart at TMP. I'd like to cite one example of a particularly sensitive receptor that I taught last year. For the sake of privacy, I'll call him Robbie. Robbie has severe asthma. He's required to have an inhaler at school and must go to the office several times a week for treatments when his breathing becomes impaired. Robbie also must remain indoors on days of high wind when there are higher levels of dust particulates present. He is a sensitive receptor whose compromised health could benefit from exercise that he misses on those days. I've seen Robbie standing in the hall watching his classmates play outdoors with obvious dismay that he can't join them. Council members, if you vote to change the zoning, ignore the overwhelming majority of public comment, and disregard the stated unmitigated circumstances outlined in the EIR, you'll be in effect contributing to the endangerment of students like Robbie. They're not sensitive receptors. They're children.
You have 10 seconds left, please.
They're the sons and daughters of parents who live and vote in your city. They are brothers and sisters who should be able to grow up as healthy and strong as their community allows them to be. They're somebody's grandchildren. I ask you on their behalf to do the right thing. Think beyond the tax dollars that you seem to believe are more important than any other consideration. Think of those innocent children so impersonally referred to as sensitive receptors and vote no to the Tamarisk Market project. Thank you for your time.
Eugene, and I'm sorry that the last name is E-H-E.
That's me. Good evening. My name is Eugene Aya. It doesn't look like it, but that's the way it's pronounced. I have lived out here off and on for about 30 years in the high desert. And I've been working in San Bernardino County most of my life. I'm a retired civil engineer. I worked for the county of San Bernardino, and then I went into private practice and did land development all over Southern California. I'm telling you this because when I first looked at this project, I thought that the original zoning was great on it. I thought that the planners had done a good job, and I was wondering why they wanted to take this place and put a Walmart here. It just didn't make sense to me, my engineering sense. And I still feel that way. This whole land has been developed on this zoning that they've been using for years. And now to change it, to put any big box type commercial project here just doesn't make sense. And I just wonder what the neighbors would think, you know, all the people that have developed around there. They never in 1,000 years would think that there would be sitting next to a big box commercial project. And besides that, when you look at the EIR, there's a lot of things on it there's a lot of problems in that property. And just looking at it, I as a professional, if I was working for Walmart, I would recommend that they find a different site to develop. There's a lot of commercial property in Victorville. I'm sure they could find a good site, and I think that would be the best route for them. Thank you.
P. West. It's Carlos, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce the last name. That's it.
Hello. Good evening, City Council members. My name is Carlos Proano, and I am one of the candidates for City Council this year. I'll be running. And as I posted in the Daily Press, for me, I would unequivocally vote no on this. This is not, as many people have alluded, this is not about Walmart. I love Walmart. I shop there all the time. This is about a zoning change. And when you're talking about a zoning change, I believe we have we have a moral obligation and a duty to consider the effect that it's going to have on the local residents the most. In this case, it's going to have a negative effect on them, and it's something that they don't want. I really hope that this City Council, unlike many of the votes that I've seen in the past, actually listens to the people, shows leadership, and listens to the concerns of what they want, and votes no on this. This to me is a no-brainer. You're talking not about Walmart, you're talking about a zoning change. This is something that they don't want. Please take into consideration and vote no on this. Thank you.
Another one. It's a Maine. Win. M-A-N-E. Win. I'll save it here. Joe Hammervan. None? Okay. Then I have no more cards. Is there any, thank you. Is there any recommendations from staff or any other comments from staff?
Just that the continuation be for 2 weeks.
Any
Say again?
comment? Yeah.
Say again?
The continuation for 2 weeks was the request.
Any comments from council?
No, if the applicant's asking for one, that's what we've done historically forever in all of the projects. I'm not sure why you're doing it, but your call?
The applicant's request due to the comments received from Mr. Corey Briggs.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Angel?
Yeah, I have some comments. I do, as a council member, have a lot of concerns about the location of Walmart. And it's not that I'm against Walmart in any way. It's just the location. Safety concerns have been cited here tonight. We're talking about elderly or children. We just recently had a couple of children that were run down on their way to school. And I have a feeling that if that Walmart exists with those semi-trucks in the way and all of the issues that Walmart's going to bring with crime, we could have another incident like that, and we won't be as lucky, and maybe those children might die. And I think that we need to take that as a council into consideration. I know a lot of people here say about jobs, and Walmart is saying that they're going to create 300 jobs. I do have some questions with that as well. My constituents and myself have concerns of what type of jobs are they offering, as far as, are they subsidized by government? In other words, are they sustainable to sustain a family? And if it's part-time minimum wage that are mostly being offered, I have concerns about that, and I would like a presentation on that next time. I'm very concerned about the flooding and the trash. The Victorville that's currently there on Bear Valley Road, the Walmart, they can't seem to keep that place safe or clean, and what makes them think they're going to do it here? So that is a big concern for me. It also concerns me, and I'd like more information on any projects that we've denied in that area for a small amount of traffic, and now we're going to consider 10,000 cars. I'd like more information on that. And I'd like to ask Walmart, why there? Why does it have to be there? Just hearing these concerns, and if Walmart continues with this project in this location, that speaks volumes about what type of company they really are, to disregard the safety. Thank you. To disregard the safety of our children, of our elderly, of all of the residents. And right now, we're struggling with property values foreclosures here in the high desert. And I have a feeling that if people are upside down in their homes around that area, they might just say, you know, walk away, because it's going to even further downgrade their properties. And I understand that Spring Valley Lake is not my constituent, but they are a resident of the high desert, and I was born and raised here, so I care about everybody, and it's just not Victorville. And also, I'd also like to make the point of these super Walmarts, they have grocery in it. And when you have grocery, and you have a Walmart on one side of Bear Valley Road and then another one on the other down further, it's going to create a bottleneck. And why do they want it there? So that you don't go any further and shop at any other grocery store, put those businesses out of business, and then those jobs that are sustainable and those jobs that do sustain families are out of business for a part-time job. That's my concerns.
Okay, this item, number 10, is will be placed at the next council meeting?
September 18th.
Okay, so it's continued until our next council meeting. That's it for item 10. Thank you.
Ryan, on the VB2 and the sewer plant, I have a ton of questions, so be patient.
She's pandering to Spring Valley Lake. Jesus Christ, I just...
Oh, here it is.
All right, moving on in our agenda, we'll move on to the consent calendar, agenda item number 11.
Motion by Councilmember Rothschild, second by Mayor Pro Tem Cabrialis.
Okay. It was 11 or 10?
11.
It's, the 10 is up.
No, that 10 was just dealt with. It's been continued.
11. Yeah.
The item on the
Oh.
system is actually showing as item number 10 still, so
Is
that
it
one
showing?
needs to be continued.
Okay, it's,
Okay.
mine's showing consent calendar.
It just switched. It took a little while, I guess.
Calendar.
Changed up top, but Councilmember Baez still shows item number 10, as does Rudy's.
Yeah. Everyone
The
has.
white section. Says item 10.
Oh, yeah, mine says 10.
Yeah, they all say 10.
Oh.
Okay, let's try this again.
Oh. Then what do you want us to remove or vote and go to, I thought we were on the consent calendar.
Withdraw vote?
Yeah, okay, there.
It's still showing item 10 on the screens?
It is.
We're continuing 10.
I forgot to get the check.
So,
I don't know why it's...
but you got to kill it off.
Wait a minute.
Try your vote and see if we can get...
Oh, God.
My screen's showing consent. Theirs isn't.
Mr. Mayor, we are having some technical difficulties between the screen up top that the public can see and the screen that you all can see. Perhaps a 5-minute recess might be in order so we can get this sorted out.
All right, we'll have a 5-minute recess.
I didn't. I tried to reset it because once they said that they didn't have consent calendar, go back and...
You put us on a 5-minute break? Or what?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, if you-
I can get up?
Not a federal. A criminal.
Not up there anymore. Now, his just switched to...
Why don't we just do a voice?
Can't get it figured out.
I'm concerned that the call is going to come up right. Try it on this item and see.
Okay, yeah, it's now on 11 on...
Okay, you have it now?
Yeah, if you click on the floor.
Okay. All right.
Melinda, I'm not going to be there tomorrow. I have to work. So, good luck.
Sarzinski.
I think he's the assistant planning director. I believe he's the assistant planning director. SZA.
We all got an email that said it was alphabetical, but they're going to draw names as to who answered. That's what I recall the email saying. Okay, we're all back, so we'll reconvene. We've got our technical issues, I think, figured out. We do have our consent calendar, agenda item number 11.
Second by Councilmember Rothschild. Yeah.
I'd like to pull the city attorney's check and then vote on the rest.
Okay, we'll pull that.
Motion carries unanimously.
So agenda item 11A, specifically,
The check for $6,500 for Andre, the city attorney. I'd like to vote no on that.
5,500?
65.
6,500.
We just paid him like 6 figures 2 weeks ago.
Motion by Councilmember Kennedy, second by Councilmember Rothschild. Councilmember Kennedy, may I get a vote from you? Councilmember Kennedy?
not on his, there it goes.
Is it a yes vote to approve?
Yes.
Okay, I entered that for you. Motion carries with Councilmember Vyas voting no.
Oh, there it is.
That was a voice vote.
Yes, for
Agenda item number 12 has been dealt with, so we'll move on to agenda item number 13. This is a request for council to take the following actions regarding tracks 15396 and 16489. 1, enter into a lien agreement with Mesa Linda and Luna LLC as security for the improvements required by section 17.64.060, subsection D2 of the Victorville Municipal Code. 2, assign all associated fees and deposits in accordance with the Victorville Municipal Code 17.64.060, subsection D 5 and 8 from High Point Communities to Mesa Linda and Luna LLC. And 3, release the existing lien agreement with High Point Communities.
motion by Councilmember Kennedy, second by Councilmember Rothschild. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 14 is request to approve certain escrow documents pertaining to the matter of City of Victorville versus Lee et al., which is a condemnation case for the La Mesa Nisqually Road project, including but not limited to certain grant deeds, grant of easement, and amended escrow instructions.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Cabriales, second by Councilmember Kennedy. Motion carries with Councilmember Vyas voting no.
Agenda item number 15 is request to approve the renewal option of the contract with Mayor Hoffman and McCann as the auditors for the City of Victorville, and authorize staff to engage the first option year for the professional services agreement for the auditing services for fiscal year 2011-2012 in the amount of $178,638.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rothschild and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Cabriales. Motion carries with Councilmember Vyas voting no.
Agenda item number 16 has been dealt with. Moving on to agenda item number 17. This is information regarding the cost of Victorville 2 power plant and the industrial wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Robertson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In August, Councilmember Kennedy, in the July meeting, Councilmember Kennedy requested that council consider directing staff to prepare information And that direction was given on August 7th and is presented for you this evening. Specifically, it is related to the cost that has been spent to date on the Victorville 2 power project, as well as both the revenues and expenditures for the wastewater treatment plant, and then also the summary of costs for the construction of the industrial wastewater treatment plant and the off-site utility costs for that plant.
Now that indicates that our total cost on the BV2 project at this point is about $76 million,
That's correct.
including $50 million in the deposit to GE that was written off a couple years ago. I have to ask Councilmember Valles why you would have told the Daily Press that the total cost of this project was over $1 billion.
I'll answer that when I get through my questions. It'll help me understand better.
I'm sorry? You're not going to answer?
Yeah, I am.
No?
Are you done with your comments?
I'm just asked a question.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Robertson, I have a question. I see that the investments for the VV2 is stated by staff to be $76 million. In earlier statements from staff, and specifically Jim Cox, the city has stated that funds to pay for these costs came from proceeds of the bond issued from SCLAA. Is that correct?
That is correct.
There is a striking similarity between the Foxborough and the VV2. Both projects were halted with the city, then trying to sell whatever assets were remaining. Is that correct?
Both projects were halted, and yes, there was an attempt to sell any remaining assets.
In trying to understand the grand jury was saying about Foxborough, I spent time reading the Foxborough in the city audit report from 2007. In that report, it states that when the project is halted, the accounting rules require the remaining assets to be written down to liquidation value. In 2007 audit, a $60 million write-off was recorded. Mayor Hoffman agreed that the accounting rules apply because they did not reserve out for the charge, only adjusted it slightly in 2008. Mr. Robertson, were you in charge of the 2008 audit work, which was done in mid-2009 after the position of finance director was eliminated by Mr. Cox?
No, I've never actually been in charge of audit work. I have been in charge of finance staff that have led the audit team, or at least led the team putting together the financial statements.
Would you say that you've routinely signed documents after June 30th, 2009, using the title of Director of Finance?
Not Director of Finance, no. If it was on there, it would have been something more like Director of Administrative Services. That was my acting title, although my official title with the city for about 7 years or so was Deputy City Manager. That was one of the duties. I could see how if an existing form or a document previously had said Director of Finance, and I was filling that role, I may still sign it.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy, you're a CPA and the chairman of the City Audit Committee. That's correct.
Right.
Mr. Kennedy, are you familiar with the accounting rule that in the case of a failed or suspended project, the remaining assets are required to be written down to liquidation value?
I'm familiar with the impairment rules about writing down assets when an event has occurred that permanently, or rather the language is a change has occurred that's other than temporary. I'm very aware of those impairment rules. I think that's what you're referring to.
Okay, given that the accounting rules followed in 2007 for Foxborough applied to an identical set of facts with VV2, and given the fact that, as we all know, the city did receive offers to buy the remaining VV2 assets at a number significantly below the $26 million level, I'd like to ask both you, Mr. Kennedy, and Robertson, why these costs were not written off in 2009, 10, or 11?
Which cost?
The cost that we had lost.
The $76 million?
Yes.
Well, the $50 million deposit wasn't written off because negotiation
I'm sorry, the cost that is significantly below what they're worth today, because what you scrapped.
Which
tonight,
cost?
For the,
Are we talking about VV2?
yes, VV.
Are we ever going to get to my question about why you said it was cost was over $1 billion?
Yes, I
We're
will.
going to get there. Okay.
And I'll also give you a written document with backup documentation. Promise you. After this, and once I get these answered, then it'll be
That
easier.
we have spent $1 billion on VV2?
Estimated cost was that.
With regard to the question of the $76 million, the $50 million was written off. I believe it was actually 2011 when that was written off. The remaining $26 million is still an investment of the city.
When the the
using-
$50 million was not carried as a cost of VV2, it was carried as a deposit on a contract with GE, and as contingent liability of $122 million was disclosed in the financial statements. When the negotiation was finally concluded, we concluded, that the city concluded that needed to be written off, and it was written off in the year when the negotiation was concluded, and we knew that amount was lost. The remaining $26 million should be obvious to all of us. There's a market for that, and that market value is pretty solid. There's no reason to write that down as an impairment.
Okay.
But I'm back to the question about $1 billion. What are we talking about?
All of the figures that you have, that I gave, I got from quotes that were taken out of the daily press. And I'll give you all of that information.
We have financial statements that we produce every year. The total assets of the city are about $1,200,000.
Believe that your financial statements are correct.
Well, you think we've spent $1 billion on VV2?
Your projected costs were that.
You mean when somebody decides to buy that project and complete it, they might spend $1 billion? Is that what you mean?
No, that they projected the cost to be that in the beginning. So
For whoever built the project.
what I'm asking you is that I think that we need to do an audit of this, and I really
This is audited every year. It's been audited every year for,
by the Bell auditors that you just approved again.
well, what is it about the Bell auditors that you object to?
Oh, let's say their experience.
The fact that they did the Bell audit?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I
And
have
that
to tell
they
you.
were found guilty, and that they were in a lot of trouble for it. But yet we keep hiring them.
They haven't been found guilty because there's been no court case on it. They settled that. But I'm more concerned about why BVWRA would continue to use the Bell attorneys, who were the biggest cause of the problem at the city of Bell to begin with. You guys think they're fine.
Yeah, well, it's not the same Bell attorney.
Oh.
Oh.
Does it matter if these are the same Bell auditors?
They're same company, and they're using the same license.
Well, it's the same thing with the attorneys. What's the difference?
Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. VVWRA isn't in trouble. VVWRA is solid, okay?
That right.
Victorville is not, and VVWRA is not under investigation by several agencies. That's the difference.
Still, you're satisfied using the Bell
But
attorneys.
let me tell you, if VVWRA was in that kind of trouble, I would be the first one to say, we need a new attorney. But you guys aren't.
Okay.
That's the difference.
If I can interject here, because I'm not enjoying a lot of this back and forth. Angela, if you could finish with your questions, and then the other
Okay.
council members can
All
have
right.
an
And then,
opportunity
regarding-
to address this issue.
And I will give you a written document, okay, of how I
I
came
would
up with my
hope that it
numbers.
would be other than based upon whatever's been reported in the daily press.
Well, I have not a lot of choices other than to accept the staff that's under
Did you
investigation.
submit these questions to staff prior to this meeting?
No, and why would I?
Why?
Why would I?
Because that's what the rest of us do.
This is on the agenda, and that is what we're here for, is to discuss it in public. You're the one who agendized
Okay.
this, not me.
No, I didn't agendize it.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Kennedy requested it.
Yeah, and you approved
Go ahead
it.
and finish asking your questions, but I'm going to go back to the point. I've made this to you several times, that these types of questions can be asked of staff prior to the meeting to
I
get
will
clarification.
not do that. I want it done in
Okay.
public. If
All
you
right.
agendize something in public, you're going to get it right back in public. That's the way it's going to work.
And please finish with your line of questioning.
Okay, so regarding the sewer plant, I'd like to ask the chairman of the audit committee, Mr. Kennedy, and question about these numbers that were presented here. First, the wastewater plant is an enterprise fund and follows accrual accounting and preparing financial statements. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that includes depreciation as well? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, using capital costs for the sewer plant of about $43 million and depreciation over 30 years would equate to an annual depreciation expense of about $1.3 million. Even if one used a 40-year life, the depreciation expense would still be about $1 million per year. Is that not correct?
Sounds like it probably is.
Okay. I see that the depreciation expense is not included in the numbers provided by Mr. Robinson, using either 30 or 40 years to depreciate the plant. This still means something near $2 million in depreciation expenses for 2010-11 that is not included in the analysis from staff. If depreciation on the sewer plant were included, the plant would be showing a net loss, and that's...
I'd like to go back to the question I agendized, which was your statement that the sewer plant is a $30 million loss. I'd like you to tell me what that loss is, where you ever came up with that number.
We're getting there.
What?
And that's before any interest expense on money used to build the plant. Based on this simple analysis, it's my conclusion that the plant is losing money. By these numbers, it appears that the plant will generate enough profits or cash flow to cover the investment. It doesn't appear that way. Secondly, as to the comments made by the grand jury as to the due diligence that was followed, I have the newspaper article that refers to the June 2008 council meeting where the plant was proposed to be built at an estimated cost of $31 million. The council approved the Dr. Pepper contracts based on the staff advising the council that the plant would cost $31 million. I did go back to the video meeting and I noted that this is what the council was told and relied on in approving the Dr. Pepper agreements. Also, the council was not told until almost 8 months later that the plant would cost $46 million. And I have all the newspaper articles to show you. Mr. Robertson, is that correct? That the council was told of the $31 million budget in June of 2008, which became $46 million in February of 2009?
That is not correct. The $31 million was the cost of the plant itself. The $46 million you'll see on page, this says 399. It is the very last line in this agenda item, and it says budget amount, Exhibit B, February 2009, which is the meeting that you're referring to. SCLA Infrastructure Funding Program has a budget of $46,129,081.
Okay. And I have another article that states that 2 former members of the staff recommended in writing to management that the city would not build the plant because of the problems in getting the plant financed, permits, or the cost to operate from LAFCO, and legal issues with VVWRA. Mr. Robertson, were you involved in the due diligence in this matter, and did you receive a copy of the reports from the 2 former staff members?
I was not involved in the due diligence of this plant. I don't recall if I received that information or not.
Okay.
Are we going to get to my question? Are we going to get an answer?
You need to be patient.
Well,
Mr.
you're
Robertson,
using this as a forum to carry on a discussion that was not agendized.
That's what happens
I'm
when you're
asking you
agendized.
to tell us where the $30 million loss is that you stated in the Daily Press.
When I get the answers to these questions, I will give it to you in writing. What do you not understand
Well, then
about that?
let's go home. This is
Mr. Robertson, when did the city reactivate its sewer powers?
I don't know that date.
Okay, well, according to the council minutes of June 7, 2011. So basically, the plant was built before LAFCO even approved the reactivation powers of the sewer.
Is that a comment or a question? Or
Well, that's what it appears from the research that I've
there was
done.
significant discussion at that time about the fact that the city has sewer powers and that we did not, in fact, need LAFCO approval to reactivate those sewer powers. Ultimately, rather than carry on that argument, it was easier to simply apply and get the powers reactivated in LAFCO's eyes. That doesn't mean that we did or didn't have them. It was simply the most expeditious way to get to the desired result, which was to eliminate that issue.
I have a question for our city attorney before you move on. This line of questioning is very problematic for me because she, in essence, works for VVWRA, and she's asking about our own wastewater treatment plant where she hasn't voted on things regarding our wastewater treatment plant in the past. So is she trying to undermine our own wastewater treatment plant to advance the efforts of her own employer?
I have informed Ms. Valles previously of the rules of common law bias and the fact we've sent memos to her regarding issues related to the wastewater treatment plant and her involvement on those issues. It's ultimately her decision whether she believes she has a conflict of interest or not. You know, to err on the side of caution, you would avoid the appearance of a bias. But
Only if I'm voting on something and I'm not, I'm getting information.
It would go beyond
Bill
just
is
voting.
biased.
It's participating in the deliberations and or influencing votes. It's not just the actual votes that would create the bias. And that's set forth in the memorandum.
Secondly, I have a newspaper article that also states that the cost of the city using VVWRA would have been $13 million, an amount that is $30 million less than what was actually spent. Mr. Robertson, what actions were taken by management to analyze the alternative of having VVWRA build the plant? Who took those actions and when were they taken?
One of your previous questions was if I was involved in the due diligence process. I answered that one no. Therefore, I would have to defer to perhaps Mr. Metzler, who may or may not have been involved.
I was involved quite extensively in the due diligence involving the plant construction. Alternatives were considered very early on in the process. The $13 million number that you're referencing is not a number that we had concluded in our due diligence analysis. When we did due diligence, we compared two alternatives before even wanting to build our own plant. In fact, it was preferred that we try to do our best to rely on those alternative services. One was to try to get VVWRA to provide the service. The second option that we looked at was trying to work with the city of Adelanto to also address the wastewater discharge needs. The number that we became familiar with when it came to trying to connect to VVWRA, because the plant is not designed and can operate currently as an industrial wastewater plant, to do so, we had actually calculating using their publicly approved rate structure to determine what a connection fee would be. And in comparison, we were looking at numbers closer to the order of $60 million that VVWRA would have charged Dr. Pepper. Notwithstanding that, we also looked at user fee charges that were probably in the order of 20 to 25% higher than the rate structure that we were able to develop around the business model that you actually have in front of you that's been the operations of the plant.
So was there an attempt made to negotiate with VVWRA?
There were attempts made. In fact, we did introduce discussions with VVWRA very early on in the process. I remember discussions as clear back as June of 2008, where Mr. Logan Olds was in meetings with myself and Mr. McGlade.
This has got to be illegal. I can't believe that we can sit here. I, for one, as a councilman, am objecting to these conversations. The line of
Well, file a complaint with the DA.
And I'm not going to be a part of the council getting sued by the DA for her sitting over here off the side. If we're not going to say anything, at least you ought to say something.
There's nothing illegal about asking questions.
Well, I think that's all. I've already pointed that out.
Well, I object to her line of questioning and continuing that prepared list of questions. I don't know where she got them from.
Believe it or not, women are smart,
But, they
Mr.
have nothing
Rothschild.
to do with
Women do have an education.
They have
I have a
nothing to do with
master's
this
degree.
agenda, and for that part, Mr. Mayor, I would ask you to.
Are you denying my right to speak up here, Mayor McCachran?
I'm not denying your right. I'd like you to bring it to a close, though. This is ridiculous. You should have asked staff.
Oh, you guys
these
are mad.
questions ahead
You
of time.
agendized this, and now you
By
don't
the way,
like it.
by the way,
what I agendized-
I would like you to answer Councilmember Kennedy's questions on the record here tonight,
Once I get my
not in
questions-
writing. If
once
you wanted
I get my
him to-
questions
if you wanted
answered,
it in
I
writing-
will answer it once I understand
No,
everything.
no, those questions have nothing to do with the two statements you made in the daily press, that VV2 cost the city over $1 billion, and the treatment plant is a $30 million loss. Those are the questions I've asked you to answer. Those were the two items that agendized, not this idiotic line of questioning.
What did VVWA say that they could build what you needed for?
I've got to start on vacation tomorrow. I got other things to do tonight.
All right, well, this is receive and file, is it not?
I'm not done with my line of questioning. Are you?
Robertson, is this a receive and file?
It's actually just information only. There's no action necessary by the council.
All right, then I'll ask Councilmember Baez to ask the rest for questions to you in writing. We'll move on to council committee reports. Mr. Rothschild?
None.
Nothing.
I would like to ask the attorney if not allowing me to speak on the dais is a violation of any laws.
Basically, it becomes a vote of the council, but you do have the right to speak and the ability to express your free speech rights.
So may I finish? Mayor McCachran?
I would like your council committee report is what I'd like.
So you're denying my right to finish?
I didn't say that. I said I'd like your council committee report.
Then I'll
We've moved on
continue.
to agenda item number 18.
So you're denying my right?
I did not say that. I
You
moved
did.
on to
Well,
council committee
you did not
report.
say it, but you're doing it.
I am not.
Is there a requirement to agendize the items we discussed?
The questioning is related to an item that's on the agenda, so it would fall within that. You can follow up the questions. There's no requirement to have them responded to at this point, but we certainly can get the questions asked.
Do you have a council committee report?
I'm not done with my last one. I'm still on number.
Well, we might lose the full quorum of the council then.
Well, that'll be good for the press.
How many more questions do you have, Angela?
Well, it depends how you answer them. About a
You're
page.
not asking me the question, so.
I got about a page.
I don't want to have to sit through this nonsense. I've got other things to do.
Well, certainly, there's no requirement on a vote on this item, so she can continue to ask the questions, or essentially, the other option would be to
She's
continue.
absolutely refused to deal with the question I raised. She has proven to all of us that she's willing to say anything, and we know that if she'll say it, the
I
Daily
am
Press will print it.
discussing the item.
Those questions have nothing to do with the two items agendized. You're just using this as a forum.
Mr. DeBortnowski, does my line of questioning have to do with the agenda item? Yes or no?
I would believe it does, because it's information regarding the costs of EV2 and the wastewater treatment plant.
So, Mr. Robertson, what is the plant worth that can't turn a profit?
Don't even know how to answer that question. Actually, the plant, as the page in front of you shows, it is turning a profit, although we don't call that a profit in government. We call it revenue over expenditures. Doesn't sound as sexy as a profit, but it is actually making money.
It is my position that based upon the public documents that this is another example of failure to manage a major project that cost the city tens of millions of dollars, as much as $30 million in the newspaper articles. Is that correct?
As far as cost to the city, the cost of the plant was just over $30 million, yes.
And I asked Mr. Metzler, did VVWA give you a final number of what it would cost to build those facilities?
I don't recall them giving us a final cost, because they were in no position to actually build the industrial component that was required to satisfy the Dr. Pepper need. The plant as it currently exists could not handle their high BOD or COD constituency.
I don't believe that to be the case. You don't even know what the plant is worth, because it was never even negotiated what VVWA could have built it for. So you don't know, right?
What we did know is exactly the measurements of constituencies that were to be discharged from Dr. Pepper, and what we also knew was the adopted publicly approved rate structure that is required to be imposed upon residents and industry, and that's what we had to go off of. That is the adopted rate structure. To do something different from that, certainly we didn't believe that Viva de Brea had the independent authority to do without structuring a transaction that they just had advised us couldn't be done.
So basically, because Viva de Brea wasn't fully explored, you actually don't know how much the city has lost.
Well, based upon what we're looking at, I don't see that as it relates to the operating expenses for the sewer plant that we've lost anything. In fact, what we're showing is profit, and your discussion trying to introduce the concept of depreciation eating into what is the operating profit is probably unfair, because you're not allowing for the accounting of the capacity connections that would otherwise have to be recognized that you will collect over the same life of the asset.
That's all I have.
Do we have an answer to the two questions?
Absolutely. You'll have it in writing
No,
with
no,
the
no, no.
backup
No, 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 no.
documentation.
You don't get the opportunity to not answer those questions here tonight. If you're going to ask all these questions here tonight when it's agendized, you must answer those questions. when
Oh,
it is
absolutely not. I'm not like you guys. I don't make decisions on spare moment. I have to go back, look at the tape, get the information, research to see if it was true or correct, and then I will give you my decision.
And when do we expect to see that answer?
Probably.
In the Daily Press, or are you going to
Oh,
communicate
yeah, absolutely. Since this one was agendized for the Daily Press, mine will be too.
And will it have the same amount of support in the one you provided the Daily Press that you did the first time?
Absolutely. Since I got it from the Daily Press, I'm certain it will.
You got information from the Daily Press that VV2 cost in excess of $1 billion. You got that from the Daily Press.
You're, again, trying to skew words, that it was projected at that.
Words. You said the final cost was over $1 billion. Are you accountable for that statement or not?
You will get my statement. Go to vacation.
All right, agenda item number 19, discussion possible action regarding items for the upcoming city council agenda. Ms. Fayez?
I've noticed a lot of complaints coming our way regarding the water, and it seems like they're very heavy-handed. I saw a letter from Mark Ward and other letters from members, city residents, and I'm concerned about, what's going on. If we can get a report, the customer service level, it seems like there's a lot of people that are very, very upset at how they're being treated. And then again, here tonight, there was another one. So I'd like to agendize a report from city manager of what's going on with the water department and our customer service relations.
You all fine with that?
Got my vote, no.
Could we be more specific? What's going on with the water department?
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of complaints, and I know you guys are too.
I sat on the Water District Board for 7 years. Rudy sat there. It seemed like hardly a meeting went by that we didn't get a complaint. Complaints go with water. If there are unusual complaints or anything that's not getting handled, I think staff should let us know about that. But just to what's going on with the water department, I don't want to agendize. Be specific.
Address these letters, and do you believe that the water department is heavy-handed? Are there issues with the bills? What is going on? Is there a problem? Are we switching softwares again? I don't know.
I
don't
believe
know how to
our
ask the
city manager,
question.
Mr. Robertson, addressed this to the entire council in an email that you're failing to acknowledge right now.
That was one email. This person here, and I didn't get anything on Mark Ward.
Well, again, I think it's to the whole system. Doug, you can answer that, but I asked you the question. You sent an email to the entire council with respect to what's going on. Did you not?
Yes, one.
Now, it dealt with the system as a whole. Did you not send that email?
That's
to the
correct. I
entire
did
council?
send an email to the entire council. We have had reduced levels of customer service because of the changeover from one system to another. We've had very long wait times, and something that we've addressed by hiring temporary staff. We're at this point, we're up to a total of 7 temporary staff members, and we're looking to hire more as needed so that we can get through a backlog of what was essentially 2 to 3 months of not turning off water because of the changeover in the system. Unfortunately, what that caused was that as now we get into the new system, and as those accounts come up to a shutoff notice after being late by more than a month, I think it's 6 weeks actually, then their bill, because they haven't paid it for now 3 or 4 months instead of 1 or 2 months that it would normally be, is higher than what they would expect. And we have customers who are upset that we didn't try to shut them off earlier than what we actually did. And we didn't have the opportunity to do that. It has created long lines. It has created long wait times on the phone. And we are doing everything that we can to resolve that. And it will still probably be another couple of months before we push through that sort of excessive number of shutoffs that we've had. Ultimately, we are implementing another piece to that new software system that should greatly reduce that as well and allow people to pay their water bill over the phone. And in fact, one piece of it will be a phone call to the customer, essentially the day before a shutoff notice goes out, informing them that, because of unpaid water bill, your water will be turned off. Would you like to pay it now? And the research shows that better than 50% of the people who get that phone call from the computer system actually do pay it. It is an unfortunate problem that we have, and we are working hard to reduce that problem.
thing to keep in mind too is that every customer who doesn't pay his water bill creates a financial burden for every other customer in the system. It's small when you spread it among 115,000 people, but it's a burden that every other customer pays for. So I have little or no sympathy for folks that don't pay their water bill. And my guess is that that's the overwhelming majority of the complaints. It was when I was on the board at Victor Valley Water District. I'll bet it still is.
There was a letter from an individual by the name of Mark Ward, and he said that he's a landlord, that he noticed there was, I guess they're called squatters, that were living in a rental that he had illegally, and that he went to the city and he reported that they had illegally turned on the water, so he didn't hear back from the city. He went to the city to find out what's going on with them turning on the water. And then, and he kept going from department to department to get answers. And the next thing he knows, he got handed with a $600 bill and a big fine for stealing water. And I mean, do you think that's fair? I mean,
what I don't think is fair is that this is the first I've heard of that, and I have no opportunity to do any research
I got
into
it from your office.
So.
It came in my agenda.
In your agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't read your mail when it comes here, so if he sent a letter to you, I don't know anything
Am I the
about
only
it.
one that got the letter? It said it was addressed to everybody.
No, but again, this is the type of thing that would be appropriate to bring up to staff ahead of a council meeting and not during
Right,
it.
of course, because you want to keep everything
No,
quiet.
I'm not trying
All
to keep
right,
everything
fine,
quiet.
fine.
Why don't you give the city manager an opportunity to address an issue like the rest of us do? You don't even do that. All you do is complain here at the council meeting.
Because every time we hear the same complaint. So if I'm going to hear the same complaint, obviously it's not being dealt with. Red light camera. I want to ask the city attorney if there's any concern over the latest editorial letter regarding the red light camera. And it said on there that there was some ruling that was overturned and that the city could be sued.
I am not sure of the editorial article you're talking about, but there's been a lot of movement on red light camera cases in California of late, as there have been with medical marijuana dispensaries, some of which are being overturned, some of which are decisions that are not published, so therefore they cannot be followed as precedent. So I'd have to look specifically at the case you're referring to see what that status is, if it's a legitimate appellate court decision that could be followed and be precedents for the city of Victorville. As you know, basically, I don't think the city's doing much other than we are still bound by the contract, and the contract says that to the extent that red light cameras are found to be unconstitutional, we can get out of that contract. That has not yet occurred.
Mike, anything to add to future agenda? A report from staff and council members. Mr. Robertson?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
One factoid, nice piece of information in the last 4 years, through the worst times, we've created 1,600 jobs out at the airport there at SCLA. I've got a list of all the companies and how many in each bracket, but in this last 4 years alone, we've added 1,600 jobs out there at the airport, and still growing, especially with the AP school out there as well. That's a good platform. So anyway, just a little good piece of information.
All right, and I have nothing as well, so we are adjourned.